Chapter 39-49. The girl was dressed in a golden dress. She was beautiful and luxurious. Her figure was slim and her legs were straight. She stood in front of Feng Yuze barefoot. Her dress swayed and her figure flickered. She had a head of golden hair and a beautiful face. The old Feng Yuze looked at the beauty in front of him. He was curled up under the straw raincoat. His eyes were filled with shock. "Lin Yu, it's you?" The beauty looked at Feng Yuze calmly as if she was looking at a stranger. "Sister," the little girl shouted. Her voice was trembling, and there was a misty mist in her big bright eyes. The beauty turned around and looked at the little girl. "You've finally grown up." Tears flowed out of the little girl's eyes as she sobbed. "It took me so many years to find this place. I've made you suffer. Lin Yu, it's you. It's really you. I knew you weren't dead. Do you know how much I've missed you all these years?" Feng Yuze said emotionally. The girl called Lin Yu turned around and looked at Feng Yuze. "I've seen everything you've done for so many years. Of course, I know how much you miss me and my family." He could only hide in this restricted area. When he went out, he had to wear a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat. Over the years, Lin Yu, who had been attached to the straw raincoat, had heard countless curses and insults. She also saw Feng Yuze clearly. "Lin Yu, listen to me." Feng Yuze moved forward and wanted to grab Lin Yu's arm. The beauty was like a fairy in the wind. She floated backwards and Feng Yuze missed. "Sister." The little girl shouted again, and the blood-colored pearl from before immediately flew into the sky. Lin Yu's red lips opened slightly and the blood pearl entered her mouth. Her originally illusory figure gradually became real. "Lin Yu, listen to me. I have my difficulties." Feng Yuze begged. "Give me one more chance. This time, I'll turn over a new leaf. We can live like a couple in the future." Lin Yu said softly, "It's too late. There's only one chance. You and I are not fated to be together." The little girl said coldly, "My golden scale royal family has never betrayed anyone. Even if I have to sacrifice my life for the person I love, I will not hesitate. However, my golden scale royal family has never let go of anyone who betrays us. Not a single one." Below them, the monsters that had surrounded this place and were still in the water shot a beam of light into the sky. The beam of light landed in front of Feng Yuze, trapping him like some kind of array. Inside the formation, Feng Yuze was in a trance. He saw a young man with wounds all over his body. Under the pursuit of the enemy, the young man fled in a panic. His heart trembled as he ran, and he finally escaped to the edge of a lake. Exhausted, he collapsed at the edge of the lake, his aura growing weaker and weaker. "I can't die. I haven't taken my revenge yet. I can't die. I can't die." Before he lost consciousness, he muttered weakly. At the bottom of the lake, a golden fish happened to swim past. The young man slowly woke up. At first, he was shocked. He looked around vigilantly and found that he was still at the edge of the lake. However, the pursuers had not caught up. When he moved slightly, he felt pain in his body. When he lowered his head to look at his wound, he found that the surface of the wound was covered with a layer of transparent liquid. Strands of vitality entered his body and healed his injury. "You're awake." A gentle voice sounded. The young man turned his head and saw a beautiful face appear in front of him. He felt as if he had been electrocuted. His body could not move at all. "I'm Lin Yu. What's your name?" The girl smiled. Her voice was as light as a bell. Feng Yuze. Zi Chen did not know what Feng Yuze was doing. He stood there in a daze as if he had lost his mind. Sometimes he would laugh, sometimes he would cry. After a while, his expression would become ferocious and he would curse, but soon he would lower his head and admit his mistake. He was like a child who had done something wrong. The light around them did not disperse, but Feng Yuze seemed to have lost his mind. Everyone else stood in place, not moving at all. His expression was slightly solemn. B*TCH, you're a B*TCH. You actually want to kill me, Feng Yuze suddenly shouted. His expression was full of anger. However, he quickly said again, I'm sorry. Everything was for revenge. If you weren't my enemy, I wouldn't have treated you like this. Lin Yu, your death actually helped me. Zichen noticed that Feng Yu's vitality began to fade while he was in a frenzy. The straw cape that had lost its blood could no longer protect his body. Lin Yu watched this scene quietly. Her expression did not change at all. If this was fate, then it was also an ill-fated relationship. She had paid a sufficient price for this. Now, it was time for everything to end. Feng Yu's fading vitality flew to Lin Yu. She absorbed this vitality to stabilize her soul. This was the curse of the Golden Scale royal family. I'm sorry, Lin Yu. I'm sorry. In the end, Feng Yu kept apologizing. No one knew what he had seen. His vitality was completely drained. He was like a skeleton. Finally, his body turned into nothingness in the air. At this point, the curse that the Golden Scale royal family had placed on him was removed. However, he had also lost his life. His vitality became the energy for Lin Yu's resurrection. However, she could not control this energy for the time being. He died under the curse and also died in the illusion. This is the method of the Golden Scale royal family. He had unknowingly arrived beside Zichen. Dying in the illusion is also a form of relief. Zichen did not sympathize with Feng Yu's death. Just the fact that he had betrayed Lin Yu's friendship and killed her to break through was enough for him to deserve death. Not to mention, he had always been up to no good and wanted to scheme against Zichen. Now that Feng Yu was dead and Lin Yu had been resurrected, it was time for the Golden Scale royal family to leave. At this moment, the little girl turned around and looked at Zichen. This made Zichen's heart tighten. They had heard the secret of the Golden Scale royal family. Was she going to kill them now? Unexpectedly, the little girl pretended to be an elder and said, "Your character is not bad. You did not have any evil intentions towards me. You can live. Little sister, don't be rude." Lin Yu flew up and bowed to Wan He. "Thank you for saving me." Wan He waved his hand and said, "No need for thanks. Can your people move aside?" Those who had cast the illusion on Feng Yu surrounded Zichen and the others again. Their eyes were cold and they were ready to attack at any time. The Sea Tribe will remember this favor. After leaving this sentence, the proud little girl flew down from the mountain peak. She fell into the lake and turned into the Golden Scale royal family again. The women who had fallen around and endured the sword intent also jumped down from the mountain peak. It turned out that they were also members of the Sea Tribe. "You are heading north, right? Maybe we will meet again. See you later." Lin Yu smiled and waved her sleeves as she turned around. The stone steps that led down the mountain exploded one after another. Soul shadows flew out from within and disappeared into the lake. These souls were actually forcefully sealed inside. Chapter 3950. The battlefield was a mess. Only Zichen and the other three were left. Shan Ya was still hugging the fish tank. What had happened earlier had a great impact on her mind. "Let's go." He spoke, breaking the silence. Zichen came back to his senses and said, "Wait." He flew to the surrounding ruins, sometimes picking among them as if he was picking up junk. Of course, he was not picking up junk. He was looking for opportunities, looking for the treasure trove of opportunities in this manner. Yugui also joined in, rummaging around. The little fairy in the dark was giving Zichen ideas. It consumed a lot of energy every day. He closed his eyes and began to regulate his breath. The previous slashes were powerful. Even if he knew that he could not break the ancient lamp of the soul-devouring clan, he still did not hold back. He let Zichen continue to attack with full force. It was not all a joke. The brighter the ancient lamp, the more powerful the aura it released. This way, it would be more conspicuous, and the sage heavenly mirror could see more clearly. This way, when attacking from a distance, there would not be any mistakes. After rummaging for a while, Zichen began to search the Dead Earth Soul Realm experts again. It was a pity that Feng Yu had turned into nothingness and disappeared. Otherwise, there should be some good stuff on him. He reminded him, "Leave the things of the soul-devouring clan. They will come in handy in the future." Zi Chen did as he was told. While rummaging, he asked, "What's going on?" Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ye also looked at Wan He. "There's something strange here, so I came to take a look." Wan He said, "The Golden Scale clan is a kind of sea clan. They belong to a clan other than the soul-devouring clan and soul-hunting clan, but they have always been neutral. However, they will also set up intelligence points in 2 areas. For example, this water mountain villa is one of them. There's one thing that Feng User did not say. The previous lake does lead to the bottom of the sea, but no matter how good the soul-devouring clan or soul-hunting clan are in water, they will not be able to find it. On the shore, their strength is not strong, but in the water, in the sea, they are almost invincible. The golden-scaled tribe is a little special. They would often come ashore and look for the men of the hunting soul tribe. Once they find the one they like, they would wholeheartedly love him and even offer their lives to him. However, once they are betrayed, the betrayer would have to pay with his life." He said whatever was on his mind. Sometimes, it's not all bad. After experiencing a betrayal, the road to growth in the future may be smoother. But the secret of the Golden Scale royal family was revealed in front of us. Aren't they worried that we will reveal the secret? Zi Chen asked doubtfully, "When that time comes, won't everyone learn to endure?" The way He looked at Zi Chen changed. It was as if he was looking at an idiot. "How? You are a descender, so where are you going to leak your secrets? The Golden Scale royal family isn't interested in those 2 girls at all. As for me, I've long reached the Earth Soul realm. Why would I need the Golden Scale royal family?" Zi Chen said, "But we have friends. We will tell them." He sneered. "There are millions of legends about Huang Jinlin in the world. There are even more stories that have been passed down for a long time. However, how many people are lucky enough to meet Huang Jinlin? Even if they meet him, how many people are able to obtain his heart? Don't forget, Huang Jinlin is an expert in illusions. How many people can stay true to their hearts? Do you really think that Feng User is an old man? He just lost his vitality. When he was young, he must have been an extraordinary existence. In the end, he betrayed the Golden Scale tribe. Although the main reason was his temperament, Huang Jinlin may have added fuel to the fire. This is equivalent to a trial of the heart, but he failed in the end." After a pause, He said, "Even if it's Huang Jinlin, not everyone can kill and refine him. Otherwise, Feng User would have prepared a scapegoat all these years." Zi Chen had finished cleaning up the battlefield. There was no point in staying here any longer. The stone steps that led up were all shattered. The restriction was also broken. The few of them flew into the distance. The commotion from before was not small. Several Earth Soul Realm experts and a dozen Human Soul Realm experts had died. However, it did not affect the horse by the lake at all. This horse was his. It was unknown where he had bought it from. What was that attack that appeared just now? Lan Jiu Meng, who had been silent all this time, suddenly asked. Zi Chen turned his head. That beam of light from before was a stroke of genius that saved everyone's lives. Could it be that Lan Jiu Meng did not know? He smiled. "Wasn't that the attack you brought? Why, have you forgotten it so quickly?" Lan Jiu Meng shook her head and said, "It has nothing to do with me. That power was not summoned by me." He smiled again. "You were just playing with me back then." Lan Jiu Meng said with certainty. "You first played with Zi Chen, then played with me. It's good that you know. Why did you have to say it out loud? Do you know how awkward it is for me?" He said, "Actually, you can't say that I played with you. When I saw that you were so nervous, I just wanted you to ease the atmosphere. Look, didn't everyone relax after you formed the seal?" Lan Jiu Meng agreed with this explanation. Otherwise, she would really think that he had some special method that she did not know of. Zi Chen was a little suspicious. He did often joke around, but at that moment, he should not have. However, he did not point it out, and Zi Chen did not ask. Flying to the front of the carriage, he patted the horse and said, "Old friend, you're quite calm. We just escaped from death." The horse snorted, as if in response. recover first, then continue on our journey. After he finished speaking, he flipped over and entered the carriage. It was unknown whether he was recovering or sleeping. Chen came to the lakeside and looked at the lake in front of him. The lake was very calm, and occasionally, he could see small fish swimming by. Was this place really connected to the bottom of the sea? In addition to the soul hunters and soul devourers, Chen learned about the third race in this world today, the Sea Clan. Previously, Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya had consumed a lot of energy and were now recovering. Chen still stood by the lake, looking at the lake in a daze. He had consumed a lot of energy, but he was not in a hurry to recover because he needed someone to guard this place. He had consumed a lot of energy, and Chen was sure of that. It seemed that he had only used one strike to kill the powerful soul devourers, but the price he had paid was not small. Therefore, in this situation, Chen had to stand up and protect everyone. At the very least, he had to let others know that there was still someone with peak combat power in this team. As for whether there would be someone secretly watching them, Chen did not know, but it was always right to be careful. Yu Gui was also slowly recovering because he was full. He squatted by the lake and began to pick up stones, throwing them into the center of the lake. The stones hit the water, causing a dozen ripples, and fell into the center of the lake. In the distance, someone hiding in the dark quietly retreated. Chapter 39:51. He got out of the carriage and stretched. He glanced at Chen and said, "Don't push yourself." Only then did Chen sit down cross-legged and recover by the lakeside. His gaze was like cold lightning. He glanced around and raised his eyebrows slightly as if he had noticed something. However, after careful investigation, he did not find anything. He looked at the lake. Is it the Sea Clan? Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya also recovered. Then, the three of them waited for Chen. When Chen recovered, the four of them continued to move forward. However, this time, he did not train their willpower. They bypassed the huge lake and continued to head north. In the next 2 days, they browsed the scenery along the way. During this time, he still did not reappear his blade will. Even though he appeared to be very relaxed along the way. A few more days passed. Just as they decided to abandon the carriage, they finally walked out of the forest and arrived at the official road. He sat in the carriage. The three of them followed the carriage, but there was no one in the carriage. Every time Chen asked to sit in the carriage or speed up in the air, he refused. In his words, "Your good days won't last long. It's better to enjoy the present." Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya seemed to have endless things to say. Along the way, they could always hear the whispers of the two, as well as the occasional bell-like laughter. After a few more days, they got off the official road and walked toward a mountainous area. They did not have a real purpose. They just kept going north. Along the way, they came across a nameless town. Many people gathered at the entrance of the town. They seemed to be looking at something. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya were very curious and walked forward. Along the way, many gazes fell on the pretty cheeks of the two women. For a moment, everyone was amazed and subconsciously avoided them. Obviously, such beauties had never come to this small place. Compared to the two, the mayor's wife, who was known as the first beauty of the town, was simply an ordinary person and extremely tacky. Chen glanced at it. It seemed to be a notice, which made him guess in his heart. Could it be a wanted poster? In his life, he had been wanted too many times. Although he had successfully resolved the issue each time, the process was extremely difficult. It could be said that he had narrowly escaped death. At this moment, the two women were looking at the notice while the others were staring at them. Everyone's eyes were filled with uncontrollable amazement. Soon, the two women walked over, and everyone's eyes followed them. "It's a bounty for catching demons," Lan Jiu Meng said. "It's said that there's a place called Gua Village nearby. There are demonic beasts roaming around. Once the demonic beast is caught and its head is brought back, the reward will be 2,000 blue crystal coins." 2,000 blue crystal coins was a huge amount for the people of the town. It was also a rare high-level bounty, but of course, Chen didn't care. He wanted to leave quickly because the gazes of the surrounding people had already landed on him. All sorts of feelings of envy and jealousy appeared in their eyes. After entering the town, the two of them were still the center of attention, which made the two women quite helpless. In the next moment, a misty light flowed around their bodies, and their real faces could no longer be seen clearly. Even though their appearances could not be seen, their slender figures and hazy faces made them seem even more extraordinary. The gazes that were directed at them increased instead. They entered the town, found a small inn, and stayed for the night. The next day, the sky was bright, and they left the inn. 2,000 blue crystal coins, how can it be so easy to earn? Sigh, a few more people became stupid in just one night. I told you that the demonic beast has extraordinary magical powers, and we shouldn't provoke it. None of them believed it. Look at what happened now. They were still alive yesterday, and now they've become stupid. Along the way, Zichen heard some discussions and saw many people gathering together, pointing and whispering. Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng curiously went up to join in the fun again. Zichen didn't go, but followed Wan his carriage. Wan he didn't even lift his eyelids, as if he didn't hear them. They've really become stupid. It's like they've lost their souls. It's already a miracle that they're still alive. The two who joined in the fun came back and told him what they found. Zichen nodded, and didn't say anything else. It's said that there's only one demonic beast, and it has such strange magical powers. What kind of demonic beast do you think it is? Lan Jiu Meng curiously asked. Zichen didn't answer, and fell into deep thought. Is there really such a strange demonic beast in this world that doesn't kill, but only devours souls? Lan Jiu Meng asked again. She didn't expect anyone to answer, and was mostly talking to herself. It could be the soul-devouring beast. A voice suddenly sounded. It was Shan Ya. She also came from Carter, and she knew more about the soul-devouring beast than Zichen. After all, she had been fighting with the soul-devouring beast since she could remember, and she was very clear about its strange power. Soul-devouring beast, what's that? Lan Jiu Meng curiously asked. Shan Ya glanced at Zichen, and found that Zichen didn't intend to answer Lan Jiu Meng's question, so she took the initiative to explain. It's a type of soul-devouring race. Soul-devouring race? Lan Jiu Meng was slightly surprised. You mean the soul-devouring race we encountered before? High-level soul-devouring beasts can transform, and they become the soul-devouring race. In other words, the soul-devouring beast is the lowest level of the soul-devouring race, Shan Ya explained. We and the soul-devouring race are irreconcilable enemies. Since we found the soul-devouring beast, we naturally have to deal with it. While the two were talking, Zichen remained silent. Even when Lan Jiu Meng deliberately raised her voice, Zichen still didn't speak. Shan Ya, what do you think we should do when we encounter such a situation? Seeing that Zichen didn't respond, Lan Jiu Meng raised her voice again. It seemed like she was talking to Shan Ya, but her eyes were looking at Zichen. Shan Ya was a little troubled, and didn't know how to answer. At the same time, she also secretly glanced at Zichen. The soul-devouring beast mainly relies on devouring souls to survive. If we don't deal with it soon, it will harm even more people. Shan Ya chose to give a compromise answer. It's better for people to die. If they don't die, they will become fools who can't take care of themselves. Not only will they live a life worse than death, but they will also drag down the whole family. That's really pitiful. Lan Jiu Meng looked at Shan Ya and said, Shan Ya, do you think we should leave now? And then allow that soul-devouring beast to turn everyone nearby into idiots? Shan Ya shook her head. She couldn't bear it. The soul-devouring beast hadn't reached the soul void realm yet. To existences at their level, it was nothing. Even if they took a slight detour, it was a small matter that could be solved with a slash. However, to the people here, this was a big matter. It was a big matter that concerned the destruction of their families. If that's the case, then let's just watch. We have nothing to do anyway. Zichen finally spoke. Chapter 3952. Hearing Zichen's words, Lan Jiu Meng smiled. As expected, Zichen would not leave them in the lurch. She immediately went to inquire about Guo village's location. However, that person looked at her with a strange gaze. He even kindly advised her, "Miss, don't go to that place. Too many people have been harmed there." Lan Jiu Meng thanked him for his kindness. When she returned, she told Zi Chen that they would have to take a detour. However, for them who were in the human soul realm, it was not a problem at all. Zi Chen looked at Wan He. If he did not want to take a detour, he could continue to head north. The three of them would be able to catch up very quickly. "I have nothing to do and it's quite boring. I'll accompany you to take a look." He drove the carriage away from the town. The carriage started to move quickly, bringing up a cloud of smoke and causing curses to be heard from all around. Zi Chen and the other two followed behind at a moderate pace. When Zi Chen first came here from the Carter realm, Shan Ya and Noah only had a few dozen blue crystal coins on them. Moreover, they were already in the soul illusionary realm at that time. Even when Zi Chen came, they were still struggling to make ends meet for a period of time. From this, it could be seen that the bounty of 2,000 blue crystal coins was not a small amount. Even though many people had suffered because of it, there were still many people who went to hunt. Along the way, they encountered many small teams heading to Guo village. When they brushed past those people, Zi Chen clearly felt the hostile gazes from both sides. Guo village was not far from the town. When Zi Chen arrived, there were already dozens of people gathered here. They were in groups of 3 to 5. Some of them were gathered together as if they were negotiating with someone. He stopped the carriage outside the small village. He did not alight from the carriage. Zi Chen and the other two walked forward. Those who came here were all for the bounty. All of them were martial artists. There were many horses around, but there was only one carriage. At this time, it was very conspicuous. "Why are there only 200 blue crystal coins? Are the people in your village more important, or are the blue crystal coins more important? There are still 2,000 blue crystal coins on the bounty outside the town. You only took 200. We came all the way here and even risked our lives to help you. Where is your sincerity? I think Guo village has too few casualties. You only have so many blue crystal coins in your village. Are you planning to kill more people?" When Zi Chen and the other two approached, they heard a dissatisfied voice coming from the front. "Please don't be offended, heroes. These 200 blue crystal coins are an extra reward to thank you for helping Guo village get rid of the evil. After killing the demonic beasts, the reward given by the mayor will still belong to the heroes." In front of the crowd stood an old man in his twilight years. He was just an ordinary person. Facing these soul hunters at this moment, he was under a lot of pressure. The old man took out a bag and opened it shakily. The unique brilliance of blue crystal coins was released. "This is what we collected from every household in Guo village. We are not rich, so this is all we have. Heroes, please help us get rid of the evil." The old man bowed deeply to the crowd. However, the crowd did not seem to appreciate it. Their eyes followed the movement of the blue crystal coins. Some of their expressions changed as they looked into the depths of Guo village. "If you want us to get rid of the evil, sure. Give us the 200 blue crystal coins first." "We will do it," said the man in the lead. The people around him nodded in agreement. The old man seemed to be in a difficult position. The man continued, "If we don't have this much sincerity, how can we get rid of the evil? Or is it that there are too many people in your village and you don't care about dozens or hundreds of idiots?" A child quietly peeked out from behind the old man. His clear eyes were filled with terror. The old man patted the child's head gently, indicating that the child should not peek out. The man saw the child and smiled. "You look very cute. I wonder if you will be even cuter after becoming an idiot." The child hid behind the old man again. He was so scared that his body was trembling. He said in terror, "I don't want to become an idiot. Mom and Dad suddenly became idiots. They don't recognize me anymore. I don't want to become an idiot. Otherwise, there will be no one to take care of Mom and Dad. I don't want to become an idiot, but you won't pay." The other party sneered. "Grandpa Village Chief said that you are heroes who get rid of evil for the people." The child cried. Of course we are heroes. But didn't your grandpa village chief tell you that even heroes need to eat, drink, and defecate? Zichen looked at the child. It reminded him of the Keita realm. The child looked very much like little Liangbao. He frowned slightly. These guys did not look like they were here to get rid of evil. They looked more like scourges. Lan Jiu Meng could not stand it anymore. She walked forward. Just then, a voice suddenly sounded, "Can you be more shameless? They are already like this. Why are you here to cheat money? Now you are going to destroy a child's hope. I want to ask you, where is your sense of shame? Who is it? Come out." The man's eyes turned cold. He immediately turned around. A middle-aged man walked out. He looked at the other party and said, "What can I do for you?" A wave of pressure spread out in all directions. Sensing this pressure, those people's faces changed. One of them cried out, "Soul Void, it's the Lord of the Soul Void realm." The middle-aged man's eyes turned cold. "Get lost." Everyone felt as if they had been pardoned. They immediately retreated, not daring to say a word. In the blink of an eye, the old man's side was empty. The middle-aged man came closer and squatted down. The child looked at the other party timidly. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Don't be afraid. There are heroes in this world. You have to believe that heroes will get rid of evil for the people." The child pursed his lips, looking a little wronged. The middle-aged man stretched out his hand and patted the child's head gently. "They were not heroes earlier. They are the enemies of heroes. They are bad people. They need heroes to punish them. Do you understand?" The child nodded and said, "Yes, they are those sinister and cunning villains in the stories. They need heroes to defeat them." The middle-aged man laughed. But the others around could not laugh. Those people earlier had powerful backgrounds. This soul void realm that appeared out of nowhere might not be able to suppress them. The middle-aged man stood up and looked at the old man. "Old man, put these away. These were gathered by the villagers with great difficulty. They are their blood and sweat. I don't need them, and I can't take them. That demonic beast, I will kill it." Without waiting for the old man to thank him, the middle-aged man turned around. His gaze swept around, and when it landed on Zichen Trio, he paused slightly. Rising into the air, under a series of exclamations, the other party's figure broke through the air and left. Guo village was filled with cheers. A powerful existence that could fly had come. Guo village seemed to have hope. The others followed. Everyone wanted to see the scene of a soul void realm killing a demonic beast. Looks like there are still good people in this world. After everyone left, Lan Jiu Meng said. Shan Ye nodded and said, "A soul void realm expert taking action. Dealing with the soul-devouring beast is not a problem at all. Let's go back." She agreed with Lan Jiu Meng's words. If that soul void realm expert could not be considered a good person, then what could be considered a good person? Zichen said, "Let's go and take a look." The two naturally had no objections. "Big brother, big sister, are you heroes too?" The child from before suddenly mustered his courage and asked. There were only the three of them left. He stayed in the distance and did not come over. Zichen turned around and said with a smile, "Hero? No, we are not heroes. We are the same as you. There is nothing special." Chapter 3953. To a soul void realm, wanting to find a soul-devouring beast was not difficult. The middle-aged man merely used an hour to find the direction where the soul-devouring beast was hiding. Indeed, it was a soul-devouring beast that had yet to take human form. But its strength also reached Realm 9, just a step away from Soul Void Realm. Of course, Soul Void Realm did not recognize it. In his eyes, this was just a variant beast whose realm was not high. "Beast, prepare to die." The middle-aged man roared angrily and charged towards the soul-devouring beast. A great battle erupted following that. Powerful auras surged. The surrounding large trees snapped one after another. Smoke and dust rose everywhere, fallen leaves dancing wildly. Both sides had a major realm disparity, but this battle actually did not immediately determine the victor. "All hurry up for me, to dare spoil young Master Meng's business, simply courting death." The man who left previously brought his subordinates to the forest at this moment. The commotion of the battle was enormous. It was hard not to find this place. Apart from the people led by the man, there were also quite a number of people approaching in the direction of the battle from all around. They were all here to watch the battle. Zichen trio walked at the back. Carriages could not advance in this place. He did not follow. Soul Void Realm actually can't suppress a Realm 9 soul-devouring beast. This is really rare. Hearing the commotion of the battle, Lan Jiyu Meng said. Soul-devouring beasts are very powerful. They're adept at soul-devouring arts and are usually a realm stronger than ordinary soul hunters. Unless. Shan Ye's words paused and gave Zichen a glance. Probably only an existence like Zichen could easily finish off a soul-devouring beast of the same rank. Lan Jiyu Meng understood Shan Ye's meaning and said, "Too bad, people with the ability don't plan on taking action." Zichen said with a smile, "Don't you have the ability to? Why don't you go and help? Didn't you see that I'm preparing to go and rescue?" Lan Jiyu Meng snorted. The smile on Zichen's face did not diminish. "I saw it. It's just that the battle seems to have already ended. That soul-devouring beast is dead." Indeed, the huge commotion from before suddenly stopped. In between, it was even accompanied by the miserable cry of a soul-devouring beast. "That Soul Void Realm 1. Lan Jiyu Meng heaved a sigh of relief. Zichen quickened his pace. "The battle is already over. Why are you still going there? Do you want to see a hero make a triumphant return?" Lan Jiyu Meng asked, "Since you worship heroes so much, why don't you become one yourself?" "Of course we're here to watch a good show. If you don't hurry up, you won't be able to watch it." Zichen's figure left behind a series of after-images. He had actually used his power. Shan Ya and Lan Jiyu Meng looked at each other and realized that the situation was serious. They immediately followed him. The soul-devouring beast, which was nearly 20 feet long, fell to the ground, motionless. Fresh blood continuously flowed out from its wounds. The Soul Void Realm expert fell beside the soul-devouring beast. His face was extremely pale. There were several deep claw marks on his chest, so deep that his bones could be seen. These were left behind when he exchanged his life with this demonic beast. In his left hand, he held a shiny object tightly. It was not his soul weapon, but the fragment of a sharp weapon. Or rather, it was the fragment of a soul weapon. Although he had reached the Soul Void Realm, he still did not have a soul weapon that belonged to him. This was also the reason why he was unable to suppress his opponent even though he clearly had the advantage in this battle. Looking at the dead demonic beast in front of him, the Soul Void Realm shook his head and smiled. "You bastard, you can fight quite well. Fortunately, I still exhausted you to death. This time, after getting the reward, counting the blue crystal coins that I saved, I should be able to find a soul weapon. Great hero, let's discuss something. Can you give me the reward?" A mocking laughter came from the forest. The sound of footsteps sounded. More than 10 people walked out from the forest. The one in the lead was the man who was scared away by the Soul Void Realm's shout. The Soul Void Realm's expression changed slightly. Not only did he consume a lot of energy in this battle, he was also seriously injured. He had long lost the strength to fight. He did not expect that the other party would actually return. Moreover, it was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. This made him secretly cry out that he was in trouble. But he did not show it. Instead, he said indifferently, "Are you courting death?" The man chuckled and said, "Trying to scare me. Let me tell you, I, Meng San of the Tiger Fang Path, do not have any other abilities. My ability to judge people is unique. You are already an arrow at the end of its flight. It is not easy for you to hold on. Do you still have the strength to fight? You are from the Tiger Fang Path?" The Soul Void Realm's expression did not change. His tone was still cold. "Do you know what relationship I have with the Tiger Fang Path?" Meng San walked forward unhurriedly. "Sorry, I am not interested to know. I am not lying to you. I really don't. Even if you are the son of our Pathmaster, it is useless in front of me today. Meng San seemed to be very confident. He waved his hand and a person immediately came forward. He handed over a huge machete with both hands. Meng San took it in his hand and weighed it. He seemed to be very satisfied with the weight. He held the machete in his right hand and said with a smile, "Until now, no one has dared to come over. Do you know why? Because they know where I came from. Right now, they don't even dare to look from afar for fear of causing trouble." After the battle ended, the crowd that was originally pacing back and forth immediately retreated. Meng San was not powerful. In the crowd of onlookers, there were many who could suppress him. However, the tiger fang path behind Meng San was powerful. No one dared to provoke them. What kind of person is this old man? Why would he care about such a small amount of blue crystal coins? Meng San held the machete and walked forward. Master Meng San is just too bored and came out to have some fun. While I am at it, I also want to see their miserable appearances. Once I think of cheating them of their money and not helping them eliminate the demon, letting them turn into idiots one by one when they were full of hope, Master San's mood would be very good. Arriving in front of the Soul Void realm, Meng San placed the machete on his opponent's neck. During this time, the Soul Void realm struggled a few times but was unable to move his body at all. The soul-devouring beast's methods were far beyond his imagination. "It's all your fault. Master San's plan was ruined by you just like that. Not only that, you actually dared to tell Master San to scram and even dared to use Master San as a negative example. Tell me, don't you deserve to die?" Meng San's eyes flashed with a devouring light. "You hurt my heart like this. Tell me, don't you think Master San should kill you? After killing you, shouldn't I go back and chop up that child? Didn't you not want to shatter the hope in his heart? This old man will bring the head of a hero like you back and crush his hope in front of him. Do you think Master San is a negative example? If you want to kill me, then kill me. This matter has nothing to do with others." The Soul Void realm took a deep breath and said, "Don't go looking for trouble with others. They are just ordinary people." Meng San chuckled, "Looks like you aren't stupid. You know that after Master San kills you, he will go back and slaughter the entire village. That's right, not a single one of them will live. Even those fools, Master San will kill them." The Soul Void realm closed his eyes and said in a low voice, "Master San, I'm sorry. It's all my, Zhongji's, fault. I hope Master San won't hold a grudge against me and let the others go. They are just ordinary people and don't dare to go against Master San." "What did you say? Did Master San not hear you clearly?" Meng San pressed down the saber in his hand and bent down. "Say it again for Master San to hear." "Master San, I'm sorry." All of this, just as Zhongji was apologizing, the saber in Meng San's hand left Zhongji's neck. Zhongji's body trembled, but his words didn't stop. "It's all my, Zhongji's, fault. Master San, you." The saber was raised high and a cold light flashed, chopping towards Zhongji's neck. "Your voice is too soft. Master San can't hear you." "Ha ha." Meng San's sinister laughter rang out. And in the surroundings, the people brought by Meng San also laughed loudly. "I say, the battle hasn't ended and the demon beasts haven't been eliminated. Isn't it too early for you to jump out and be the Oriole?" Chapter 3954. The broadsword stopped at Zhongji's neck. It did not hurt Zhongji at all. This was not Meng San stopping at the last moment. At this time, even if the Tiger Fang sect leader was here, he would not hesitate to slash down with his broadsword. It was a force that stopped him. It was as if someone was standing beside him and grabbing his arm. Around Meng San, the others turned around and gripped their weapons tightly. A young man walked out from where they came from. "How dare you interfere in the Tiger Fang sect's matters? Are you looking for death?" One of them shouted coldly. He was only at the 6th level. Zichen smiled and said, "Everyone, don't misunderstand. I'm not here to be a busybody. I'm just here to tell you guys out of goodwill that the battle is not over. The mission to kill the demon is not over yet. You guys are early. I've heard your words. Now scram." Meng San glanced at the corpses on the ground, then looked at Zichen and said coldly. Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng followed. After he saw the two women, Meng San's eyes lit up. and he said, "Out of consideration for your meddling in other people's business, Third Master will repay you this once. I'll kindly accept these two beauties for you. Scram right now. If I see you again in the future, I'll definitely kill your entire family to vent my anger." At this time, Meng San could already control the broadsword in his hand again. It seemed like he was talking to Zi Chen, but the broadsword in his hand suddenly turned and slashed down with all his strength. Meng San knew very well that if he did not kill this Soul Void Realm expert today, he would not have a future. This was his only chance. If he allowed the other party to live, he would definitely suffer a fate worse than death in the future. "I told you, you're in too much of a hurry. The demon hunting battle is not over yet." Zi Chen's voice sounded again. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in front of Meng San. At the same time, an oppressive aura surged toward him. Sensing this aura, Meng San's body involuntarily trembled, and he could no longer slash down. This time, it was not Zi Chen's doing. Meng San raised his head and looked at the black shadow. It was a huge creature that was close to 30 meters in size. Previously, Zhongji had only killed a small one. Now, there was a big one. Meng San was dumbfounded. The people he brought with him felt that something was wrong and turned around one after another. When they saw the huge creature, they were even more scared and stood on the spot. They didn't even have the strength to run. This enormous soul-devouring beast did not roar in anger. Instead, it slowly moved forward. Within its ice-cold eyes, there seemed to be a hint of playful brutality. Zhongji's face also turned pale. Just from the aura, he knew that this was not something he could fight against. The news did not say that this demonic beast was so powerful. Shan Ye's expression changed. According to her understanding of the soul-devouring beast, as long as it could reach the Soul Void realm, it could transform into a member of the soul-devouring clan. The aura of this soul-devouring beast was equivalent to the human soul realm. Why did it not transform? Or was it deliberately using its beast form? Lan Jiyu Meng was also shocked. There was suddenly a hint of coldness in the eyes of the soul-devouring beast. A whirlwind appeared around its body and swept forward. Right at this moment, Zi Chen moved. He stretched out his palm, and a soul light flew out from his palm. Like a spirit snake, it wrapped around Zhongji's body and brought him back. As the whirlwind approached, Meng San's robes fluttered gently, and his hair fluttered. He stood there motionless, but his life force had been devoured. The large blade in his hand fell to the ground. He did not even have the qualifications to be an idiot. His soul was directly taken away and he died on the spot. Zhongji's face was filled with fear. If it was not for the other party saving him in time, he would have died like Meng San. The others who followed Meng San reacted and wanted to run away. The whirlwind appeared again. It was black and extended in all directions. Zi Chen stood in place, and Zhongji stood behind him. Zi Chen did not move, but Zhongji's expression was changing. But soon, he became determined. He did not move either. The people that Meng San brought fell one after another. Like Meng San, their souls were directly devoured and they died. There was no possibility of survival. A whirlwind also came from Zi Chen's side, but just as it approached Zi Chen, it disappeared into thin air. When the few survivors who followed Meng San saw this, they immediately ran toward Zi Chen as if they had grasped at a life-saving straw. "Sir, save me." As they ran, they shouted. Zi Chen stood there, indifferent. This time, even Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Ye looked on coldly. The soul-devouring beast swooped forward. The whirlwind in the forest became a hurricane, and the black soul-devouring power spread in all directions. The originally bright forest immediately became dark. Banging sounds could be heard from time to time. Zhongji's face was filled with fear. He stood behind Zi Chen, not daring to move. Just when he felt that his soul could be taken away by the black wind at any time, he saw a protective light containing a domineering aura appear from all directions, protecting him. The young man in front of him was still standing there. His body was as motionless as a mountain. No matter how the black wind raged, it could not get close to him. And in the wilderness, there were continuous screams. It was the people who had retreated before. For some reason, they did not leave. Now, Their souls were being taken away. All of a sudden, the surging black wind became even more intense. It was the huge monster beast that was flying towards them. The young man who was originally motionless suddenly took a step forward. The ground around him shook, and a strong aura surged out from the young man's body. The light of thunder bloomed, and the surroundings that were originally covered by the black wind suddenly became bright. The young man punched out. With a loud bang, the monster that was hit in the head flew backward. The black wind immediately dispersed, and the world returned to normal. Zhongji looked around and found that there were only 4 survivors, including him. The others were all dead. After the monster landed, it rolled a few times. As if it knew that it was no match, it turned around and ran. Zichen's eyes had a trace of surprise. He had restrained a part of his strength before. It seemed that he had knocked the monster back with one punch, but the monster was not injured at all. Did it want to run? Was it too timid? Or was it luring the enemy in? Zichen glanced at Zhongji behind him and said, "You guys stay here. I'll go up and take a look." Shan Yue took out an elixir and put it aside. Her figure flashed, and she followed up. She did not know why, but the appearance of this soul-devouring beast made her feel very unwilling. "Hero, that's your reward. You can exchange it for blue crystal coins." Lan Jiu Meng pointed at the soul-devouring beast in the distance, and then at the dead people. "These are also your trophies." After saying that, she also left. Zhongji was left standing alone in a daze. He could faintly smell a fragrant wind. "Hero." After a moment, he came back to his senses and laughed at himself. Chapter 3955. Zhongji knew about the Tiger Fang Path. It was the largest faction here with a good reputation. However, it was his first time meeting someone like Meng San. Meng San had died long ago. It would be a waste not to take the money he had on him. As for the other things, he did not take them. Of course, he did not dare to take them. He looked around and found that many people had died. "Your luck is still a bit worse than mine." Zhongji looked at the dead people and sighed. Didn't they leave already? Why didn't they go further away? If these people had left earlier, they would not have died here. He searched their bodies and found some blue crystal coins. It was not a lot, but it was better than nothing. After doing all this, he did not leave. Instead, he looked in the direction Zichen and the other 2 left. Would the 3 of them be able to kill the escaping beast? The soul-devouring beast's speed of escape exceeded Zichen's expectations. Fortunately, he was not slow either. Shan Yue and Lan Jiu Meng followed behind like 2 streaks of rainbow light. "Didn't I ask you to guard there?" Zichen said. Shan Yue and Lan Jiu Meng shook their heads at the same time. "It's speeding up. We have to be faster too." Zichen did not ask any more questions. He sped up and chased after the soul-devouring beast. Shan Yue and Lan Jiu Meng were on the left and right respectively. Beside Lan Gumeng, a beam of sword light whizzed forward and flew forward. The soul-devouring beast seemed to have sensed danger and began to flee in an arc. The flying sword light pierced through trees. Those in the human soul realm can already transform. It doesn't seem to have the ability to transform. Its intelligence is also not as good as the soul-devouring clan. Shan Yue stared at the soul-devouring beast ahead. Zichen also noticed this problem. The opponent seemed to be a soul-devouring beast. However, the human soul realm strength could not be faked. Since it was already in the human soul realm, why couldn't it transform? The sword light was getting closer and closer to the soul-devouring beast. The soul-devouring beast seemed to be getting anxious. When it reached a cliff, it jumped down without hesitation. The sword light whizzed past and followed closely behind. In an instant, the sword light returned with a few drops of blood on it. Zichen and the others followed and stood above the cliff. The bottom of the cliff was empty. A few drops of blood fell to the bottom of the cliff. The soul-devouring beast seemed to have disappeared into thin air, its whereabouts unknown. "It's gone." Zichen looked around. Could it be that it has learned the invisibility technique? Zichen's gaze slowly moved around his surroundings. At the same time, He used his soul power to investigate every single corner. Suddenly, his pupils constricted as he discovered something unusual. At the same time, Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ya also seemed to have discovered something. A light flashed beside Zichen, and Wen he appeared. "How is it?" Zichen pointed at a certain spot on the cliff and said, "There are some abnormal spatial fluctuations there. It should be hidden there." After he finished speaking, his figure descended and arrived at the abnormal spot. He then threw a punch at it. Waves of ripples surged out. Zichen's fist force dissipated, and a light screen appeared in front of him. The light screen seemed to be connected to another place, and Zichen's fist force had all converged into it. Zichen was slightly stunned. He subconsciously stretched out his hand and saw his palm easily pass through the light screen. He immediately withdrew his hand and turned around. Something strange. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ya flew over. He was relatively slow. Zichen told the three of them about his discovery. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng went forward one by one to try and found that they could pass through. But to be careful, the three of them did not rush in rashly. Instead, they looked at He. With this powerhouse here, it was natural for him to take the lead. He stretched out his hand and did not touch the ripples. Moreover, the ripples that appeared before had disappeared. He withdrew his hand and smiled. "Interesting. What do you mean?" asked Zichen. "If I'm not wrong, this should be a space with restrictions on cultivation level. I can't enter with my cultivation level," said He. "In other words, those below the Earth Soul realm can enter?" asked Zichen. His tone was much more relaxed. Now, he was almost certain that the soul-devouring beast had been hiding in this place. Perhaps the one that died earlier was also a soul-devouring beast from this place. And as long as it was a human soul realm cultivator, Zichen was not worried. Even if there were all kinds of dangers, he was still confident that he could make the trip. He tried again and nodded. "Yes, that's it." Lan Jiumeng asked, "So, it's very likely that there's a place of opportunity inside?" He looked ahead and said, "This kind of place is very rare. No one can guarantee what's inside. It could be an opportunity, or it could be danger." He looked at Zichen again. "What do you plan to do?" Zichen thought for a moment and said, "Let's go in and take a look. Whether it's good or bad, that soul-devouring beast must be killed. Otherwise, with it here, this area can forget about living in peace." Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng also nodded. Whether there was an opportunity inside or not, that was a question for later. That soul-devouring beast must be killed. Moreover, they had another guess in their hearts. Perhaps there was a group of soul-devouring beasts inside, and that could be their nest. He had no objections to this, but he instructed the three of them to be more careful. Zichen was the first to enter. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng followed closely behind. This was a space that was not very big. The grass was green, and one could see the end of it at a glance. The energy in this area was very abundant, and it could be considered a good place of opportunity. As expected, the group of soul-devouring beasts did not appear. Other than the grass, there was nothing else. "Look there." Shan Ya pointed into the distance. At the end of their line of sight, there was a black dot. That was the only abnormality here. The three of them flew forward, and the black dot in their line of sight gradually enlarged. It turned out to be a building. The soul-devouring beast of the human soul realm was not in their field of vision, so it should have entered that building. The building was 2 stories tall, like a manor. The door had been destroyed by force, which seemed to be the work of the soul-devouring beast. Arriving outside the building, Zichen looked down and released his soul power. There was no abnormality, nor was there any danger. The destroyed entrance was like another space passage. He did not know where it led, and his soul power could not detect it. After a slight hesitation, Zichen said, "I'll go in and take a look first." His figure landed, and light flashed in his hands. For safety reasons, the staff and shield appeared at the same time. Zichen cautiously entered. The two of them stood outside and waited patiently. There were no signs of battle. After about 10 breaths, Lan Jiumeng, who did not see Zi Chen come out, flew down. She flashed in. After 5 breaths, Shan Ya also walked in. Shan Ya, who came in, was very careful, but did not encounter any danger. She saw Zi Chen and Lan Jiumeng standing there, looking ahead. Shan Ya curiously walked forward and stood side by side with the two. A bright light entered her eyes. The light was constantly changing, which was emitted by the miracle stone. There was actually a miracle stone here. Chapter 3956. He stood at the edge of the cliff, quietly waiting for the return of Zi Chen and the others. Discovering a small space with a cultivation realm restriction in this place should be considered an opportunity. However, for some reason, he felt a little uneasy in his heart. This was also the reason why he left the carriage and came here. A ray of light appeared in front of He. It was an old man. He looked at He and said with a smile, "Are you waiting for someone?" His expression changed. The old man said with a smile, "It seems that it's true. However, I feel that the person you're waiting for might not appear." He glanced down. The ripple passage was still there, but the bad feeling in his heart had become stronger. In the space that only human soul realm experts could enter, 2 young men appeared out of thin air. To be able to reach this place, the 2 of them were obviously human soul realm experts. At this moment, the 2 young men looked at the building in front of them. One of them couldn't help but sneer. "This time, in order to deal with you, we didn't hesitate to pay a huge price. We gave up a small world and even took out a miracle stone. No matter how careful you are, you will never expect that this is a trap." The other party said coldly, "Therefore, all of you have to die. You must die. I didn't expect your Lan family to have such a strong foundation." At this moment, Shan Ya had just entered the building. Just as the 3 of them were looking at the miracle stone, the young man from the Lan family snapped his fingers. In an instant, the building where Zi Chen was hiding exploded. Powerful energy instantly flooded the surroundings. The building was reduced to ruins. Looking at the rolling energy in front of him, the young man sneered, "Let's see if you can survive this. That building is completely made of explosive talismans. Even an Earth Soul Realm expert will probably die if they enter." The man next to him said, "Your Lan family is so well prepared. Why did you come to our Shaw family?" The young man from the Lan family said, "The reason why we asked you to come is just to be safe. That Zi Chen guy is extremely strange. We've tried to kill him many times, but he managed to escape every single time. You're worried that he's not dead?" The existence from the Shaw family said, "Is that possible? It's almost impossible, but it's never wrong to be careful." The young man from the Lan family said, "This should be our last time, so we can't make any mistakes. Otherwise, you and I won't be able to go back." The person from the Shaw clan smiled faintly, "You are too sensitive." His smile suddenly disappeared, and he couldn't say the following words. Amidst the tumbling energy, a ray of light appeared. It was a protective light shield activated by a saint talisman. Zi Chen and the other 2 were standing inside the light shield. "How could this be?" The man from the Shaw family cried out in alarm, "Didn't you guys plan this meticulously? How could he fail? Even the Earth Soul Realm experts inside are all dead, so why are the 3 human Soul Realm experts still alive?" The young man from the Lan family was also in disbelief. When he said "what if" earlier, he was just being polite. At the same time, he also wanted to let the people of the Shaw family see the true strength and background of their lineage. Who would have thought that Zi Chen actually didn't die? Their setup was very ingenious. There was a threat in the opportunity, so it shouldn't have been discovered in advance. Moreover, once the explosive talisman was activated, even if Zi Chen reacted, he wouldn't be able to defend in time. Even if he activated the 100-soldier light shield, it wouldn't work. He would die in an instant. All of this had been planned, but why had Zi Chen reacted so quickly? What was the origin of that saint talisman? How could it block the attack of the explosive talisman? Could it be that he had been holding it in his hand all along? The saint talisman was a gift from the mountain lord of Saint Talisman when he left the sacred mountain. Zichen didn't use it all the way. He only took it out at the critical moment. There was one thing that the young man from the Lan family guessed right, and that was that Zichen had been secretly holding the Saint Talisman in his hand. Just as the building exploded and the miracle stone exploded, Zichen activated the Saint Talisman without hesitation. Then, without any hesitation, he activated the second and third talisman. As soon as the light of the first Saint Talisman appeared, it was destroyed by the terrifying energy. The second talisman didn't last long either. Immediately after, the third talisman dissolved the remaining energy. If Zichen hadn't been decisive enough to activate the 3 Saint Talismans in an instant, the 3 of them would have died even if they were vigilant. The violent energy around them dissipated. The Saint Talisman in front of Zichen also consumed the last bit of energy and shattered. The figures of the 3 appeared. At this moment, Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ya's faces were pale. Especially after seeing the 2 people in the distance, they felt even more scared. This was a trap specially set up to target them. From the moment the soul-devouring beast appeared, this trap was set up. The person who set up the trap was waiting for them to take the bait. They didn't know if that hero Zhongji was an accomplice of the person who set up the trap. Fortunately, Zichen reacted quickly and saved their lives. As the energy dissipated, Zichen walked forward. A small world and a miracle stone. You've really invested a lot. But I'm sorry, you've failed. In the sky, the people of the Lan family and the Shou family had ugly expressions. Zichen said, "Don't think about escaping. You won't be able to escape. For your respective families, fighting to the death here is the best ending. PH, you're lucky that you didn't die earlier. I'd like to see how strong you are to be so arrogant." The man from the Shou family waved his hand and light appeared in the dark. There were more than 20 human soul realm experts hiding in the dark. Looking at those human soul realm experts who were seething with killing intent, Zichen shook his head with a look of pity. This was the world of the human soul realm. Only those in the human soul realm could come here. Under such circumstances, facing Zichen at his peak was simply courting death. Moreover, besides Zichen, there were 2 extremely angry Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ya. One of them was a divine soul goddess and the other was a god's chosen one. The battle broke out. Although these existences from the Shou family were all prepared and had many tricks up their sleeves, they were nothing in front of the 3 of them. The young man from the Lan family had a look of despair. When he saw that Zichen was unharmed, he had already lost all hope. Now, looking at this devastating battle, he was even more disheartened. His plan this time had failed again. And just as Zichen said, they couldn't go back. Even if it wasn't for himself, he had to protect his family from being implicated. Gritting his teeth, he charged forward and faced death with equanimity. And he was indeed dead. None of the human soul realm experts who appeared here could leave alive. Beside the cliff, he couldn't help but frown as he listened to the old man's nagging. The old man smiled and said, "Why? You don't like it? Do you think I'm spouting nonsense and that they can still come out alive? You're so stupid. I really don't know how you reached the Earth Soul realm. He said impatiently, "I don't know if they can come out, but you talk too much nonsense." With that, he struck out with his saber. With a flash of golden light, the old man's body was split into 2. "Take it that I, am begging you. Before coming, I beg you to do your homework and see who you're facing. Imitating an elder's nagging in front of me, aren't you old men eating arsenic?" He continued to strike, this time from the side. The saber light entered the void, and there were ripples surging. The Earth Soul Realm expert hidden in the dark was killed with a single strike. Then, he slashed out a 3rd time. Chapter 3957. 3 blades, 3 people. 3 Earth Souls. Sheathing his blade, he looked at the incomplete corpses on the ground and shook his head. Where did these country bumpkins come from? Back when he attacked the Fang clan, even the Fang clan's patriarch didn't dare to stop them and let them leave. But this time, the enemy had actually only sent 3 Earth Soul Realm experts. This gave Wen He sufficient reason to guess that these people were ignorant and inexperienced. After killing 3 Earth souls who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, Wen He looked at the ripple passage ahead with some worry in his eyes. He could look down on the 3 Earth souls, but he had to admit that the enemy's trap was exquisite. Even he couldn't see through it. It was a well-prepared trap, and he didn't know if Zi Chen could resolve it. That kid doesn't look like someone with a short life. He won't die here, right? He muttered in his heart. At this moment, ripples surged in front of him, and someone walked out. His eyes narrowed, and a chill appeared in his eyes. But when he saw who it was, the chill in his eyes dissipated, and he smiled. It was Zi Chen. I thought you died in there, he joked. I almost died. This is a real sure-kill situation. It can only be said that I was lucky to be able to come back. Zi Chen didn't smile, and his expression became very serious. Sure-kill? The smile on his face also disappeared. Zi Chen nodded. This time, he was really lucky. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng also had lingering fears. If it wasn't for Zi Chen, the 2 of them would have died. At the same time, Lan Jiumeng's face was also filled with guilt. I'm sorry. They came because of me. I can sense the Lan clan's aura. Even though those people didn't report their names, Lan Jiumeng naturally knew their identities with her perception of the Lan clan's power. The reason why these people came was entirely because of Lan Jiumeng. Until now, the Lan clan still hadn't given up on hunting her down. Zi Chen and Shan Ya were innocently implicated. Lan Jiumeng felt even more ashamed when she thought about how she was the one who insisted on coming here to catch the demon. Zi Chen said, "You don't have to blame yourself. This is related to you, but it's not entirely your fault. We were able to escape death this time because we had the help of an expert." The help of an expert? Lan Jiumeng was very puzzled. Where was the expert this time? He? Zi Chen wouldn't use that word to describe it, would he? Zi Chen glanced at Shan Ya. Shan Ya was puzzled, but she quickly reacted. She thought of the Ghost King. Although she had only caught a glimpse of him, it had still affected her state of mind, so she told Zi Chen. Could it be that Zi Chen was on guard because of this? Zi Chen didn't say it explicitly, and Shan Ya didn't ask again. Because the Ghost King might be related to that mysterious young man, and that mysterious young man had extraordinary magical powers. At least until now, Shan Ya had never seen an existence who could suppress another's realm through rules. Zi Chen nodded. Everything was in silence. Zi Chen didn't care whether the person Shan Ya saw was the Ghost King or not. He also didn't intend to ask why the Ghost King helped him. He thought of something. When he was breaking through to the next realm in Carter, a voice sounded in his sea of consciousness. It was a woman's voice, indifferent and emotionless. It was at that time that he obtained the technique to summon the underworld ghost. The underworld ghost that followed helped him resolve many crises. On the trip to the sacred mountain, it transformed into a real existence with flesh and blood. After that, the voice never appeared again. This time, the Ghost King appeared in Shan Ya's vision. There was definitely an expert helping him, but Zi Chen couldn't guess who it was. Fortunately, Shan Ya took that warning seriously, and so did he. In fact, when he saw Feng Yuze last time, Zi Chen had guessed whether this was a trap. The reason why he didn't refine the Emperor Gold Scale was related to his temperament, but also to his caution. Even if he did refine it in the end, he wouldn't do it in the water manner. He would leave and find a safe place. Zi Chen noticed the corpses around him, but his expression didn't change much. Since the other party came prepared, they would naturally send out Earth Soul Realm experts. However, they only sent 3 of them. They were underestimating He too much. Zi Chen went forward and searched, but didn't find any wealth. However, he did find 3 soul weapons. It was just that the 3 powerful Earth Soul experts didn't even have time to use their soul weapons before they died under his blade. Let's go. He turned and the 4 of them walked back the way they came. On the way, they met Zhongji. He hadn't left yet. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng's expressions changed slightly. This demon-killing trip was clearly a trap, and this Zhongji might be a part of it. When Zhongji saw the three of them, he said excitedly, "You guys are fine." "That's great. Why haven't you left yet?" Zichen asked. Zhongji said embarrassedly, "I only killed a small one. The real great demon didn't die." Zichen said, "Now that it's dead, you've completed your mission." This made Zhongji even more embarrassed. Zichen threw something to Zhongji. It was a soul weapon. It was a mortal soul expert's weapon. Zhongji subconsciously caught it. After seeing the soul weapon, he was stunned and puzzled. You need a weapon to be chivalrous. A smile appeared on Zichen's face. Don't feel embarrassed. Just try your best to help more people in the future. However, when helping others, you have to do what you can. If the person dies, then there's nothing left. I understand. Zhongji nodded. Holding the soul weapon, he cupped his fists at Zichen. After swallowing the elixir Shan Ya gave him, he, who had recovered from his injuries, carried the dead soul-devouring beast and flew away. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya, who had been on guard, finally relaxed. They had always thought that Zhongji might be an accomplice. A person who doesn't want to destroy a child's hope will not wallow in the mire with those people. Zichen looked at Zhongji's departing figure with a sincere smile on his face. The carriage was just outside the forest. It had left Guo village at some point. Next, it was time to leave. However, Zichen glanced at Guo village's direction and felt a little sorry for them. He looked at Zichen, who suddenly stopped. Zichen said, "After all, this started because of us. Speaking of which, we also caused them to become like this. They are all innocent. Do you have a way to save them?" Zichen didn't care about the deaths of those who were in the forest. However, those ordinary people who had lost their souls did not deserve to suffer such torment. Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng also nodded. They felt very apologetic. "You want to be a good person. Why are you dragging me into this?" He curled his lips. "We don't have the strength. Who asked you to be a great expert?" Zichen chuckled and sighed in relief. It seemed that he had a way. So what if he's a great expert? Isn't he still a tool for you? You're a hero. A hero in our hearts. Bullshit hero. Whoever wants to be a hero can be one. He walked towards Guokun, and the horse followed behind him obediently. Chapter 3958. The old man was still standing at the entrance of Guo village. His wrinkled face was filled with worry. The commotion earlier was quite loud, accompanied by occasional screams. It seemed that something unexpected had happened. This made the old man even more uneasy. Little Bean was still standing beside the old man. His small hands clutched the corner of the old man's clothes tightly. His eyes were filled with tears. The screams made him tremble in fear. After the screams, there was a long period of silence. Some of the lucky survivors screamed, "Dead. They're all dead." Then, they ran away in fear. Does the heavens want Guo village to die? What sin has my Guo village committed? The old man raised his head and cried. He was on the verge of despair. "Grandpa, someone's coming." Little Bean saw several people walk out of the forest. The old man looked over and saw 4 people walking towards him. He remembered that one of the 4 didn't come over. The other 3 were the last to leave. At that time, Little Bean asked the young man a question. Little Bean didn't understand the young man's answer. When Little Bean asked about it later, the old man didn't understand either. "Old man, you're safe now. That monster is dead." Seeing the old man's nervous expression, Zichen said when he was about 10 feet away. "Really?" The old man couldn't believe it. Zichen smiled and nodded. "It can't be any more real. That's great. The heavens have eyes. The heavens have eyes." The old man cried tears of joy. He was about to tell the rest of the village. "Little Bean, come with me." But after taking a few steps, the old man came to his senses. He turned around and said, "Young hero, thank you for saving Guo village. This is a token of our appreciation. Please accept it." The old man excitedly took out the blue crystal coin and handed it to Zichen with both hands. "We didn't kill the monster. We can't accept it. Zichen waved his hand. The old man was startled. We're here to check on the unconscious villagers. This senior of mine happens to be an expert in medicine. We'll see if he can be of any help. Zichen pointed at Wan He. The old man was naturally delighted, but he soon said with difficulty, "Young hero, to tell you the truth, Gua village doesn't have any money left. Previously, many doctors came because of your fame, but they... Don't worry, we won't prescribe medicine, and we won't ask for money. If we can't save everyone, we'll leave. If we can help, we'll help for free." Zichen smiled. He naturally understood the other party's concerns. Thinking about it, there should be a lot of doctors visiting this place during this period of time. There might be some who sincerely wanted to save people, but there should also be many who wanted to take advantage of the situation and make money. The old man shed tears of gratitude and warmly invited them into the village. At the same time, he told everyone the good news. Of course, Zichen told everyone that the one who killed the demonic beast was Zhongji. Little Bean was very excited because in his eyes, Zhongji himself was a great hero. He went to see the patients. Of course, he said that he was going to see them, but in fact, it was just for show. Zichen was very clear about everyone's condition. "Big brother, you're a hero too." Zichen sat in the village chief's courtyard and looked up at the sunset. Little Bean came closer and said excitedly. Zichen gestured for Little Bean to sit next to him. The child was a bit reserved. "I'm not a hero. I'm just an ordinary person like you." Zichen patted Little Bean's head and said with a smile. "Your friend can save my parents and the others in the village. He's a hero, and you're a hero's friend. Of course, you're a hero too." Little Bean clearly didn't agree with Zichen's words. He forcefully explained, because a friend of a hero can only be a hero. Zichen smiled and said, "A hero only does one or a few meaningful things and receives everyone's recognition. That's why they're called heroes. In fact, before doing these things, heroes are just ordinary people like you and me." Little Bean was clearly very smart. He asked, "Big brother, you mean, I can also be a hero?" "Of course, when you do something meaningful one day, you'll be a hero in everyone's heart." Looking at the gradually disappearing sun, Zichen said, "But you have to remember, heroes have to live first." Zichen thought of Zhongji. He only came here for the bounty and didn't want to be a hero. However, he didn't want to see a child's hope be destroyed so early, so he stepped forward to be a hero. However, he almost lost his life because of this. Although it wasn't very rational, Zichen didn't think Zhongji was wrong. This was also why he was willing to give him a high-grade soul weapon. This world needed people like him. In other words, only when there were more people like him could the world become better. Zhongji was someone who could make the world better. Pang Chang was the same back then. Zhongji returned. When he saw Zichen, he was very surprised. He immediately wanted to bow to Zichen, but Zichen waved his hand. As for Little Bean, he looked at Zhongji with eyes full of worship. Zichen smiled and said, "Hero, I'll have to trouble you to make another trip to the town. Say that Gua village has a godly doctor who can save those who have lost consciousness. However, the godly doctor will only stay here for tomorrow and will leave the day after tomorrow. During this day, he will treat everyone for free." As a Soul Void Realm expert, Zhongji was very clear about the situation of those who had lost their souls. He didn't expect that this young man could actually revive their souls. It had to be said that this was very impressive. Therefore, this great hero didn't even have time to enjoy the worship of the villagers before he flew to the town again and spread the news. A day's time was enough for those people to revive. The sky was approaching. Zhongji, who had walked back and forth, returned and came to Zichen's temporary residence. "Thank you very much for today's matter." Zhongji thanked him again. Zichen gestured for him to sit down and said, "How much do you know about the Tiger Fang sect?" Tiger Fang sect? Zhongji was slightly stunned. He didn't expect this lord to ask this question. Zichen said, "Tell me everything you know, good or bad." The Tiger Fang sect is the largest faction here. The sect master is a human soul realm expert. It's said that his combat strength is very strong, Zhongji told him everything he knew about the Tiger Fang sect. There was almost nothing good. Instead, they suppressed many merchants and did many evil things. However, it wasn't too evil. For example, Meng San's situation, Zhongji told him the truth. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. The other party's personality was twisted. He took pleasure in killing people. Furthermore, Zhongji told Zichen that Meng San might be from the Tiger Fang sect. Perhaps he was a direct descendant of the Tiger Fang sect. He might have made a mistake, so he came to this place. That night, Zichen left his room and went to the Tiger Fang sect. Chapter 3959. The Tiger Fang path suffered a huge blow, which exceeded everyone's expectations. While everyone was shocked, there were also many people who clapped their hands in joy. Relying on their strength, the people of the Tiger Fang path bullied many others. Whether in the open or in the dark, there were many who had their families destroyed. After learning that only one person had caused trouble for the Tiger Fang path, people could not help but guess that the arrogant Tiger Fang path had finally provoked someone they should not have. When Zhongji, who had been staying in Gua village, heard the news, Zichen's group had already left. Estimating the time, it should have been the night when he told Zichen about the Tiger Fang path. Zhongji was very shocked. He did not expect Zichen to be so strong. However, when he thought of the existence following him, who could even recover the souls of ordinary people, he understood. The Tiger Fang path suffering a heavy blow was naturally a good thing for Zhongji. After all, he had returned to Gua village because he was worried about the Tiger Fang path's revenge. Now, it seemed that he did not need to worry anymore. The dead Meng San probably would not have thought that his viciousness would cause the Tiger Fang path such a huge loss. However, he would not leave immediately. According to his agreement with Zichen, he needed to stay here for 2 years. During these 2 years, he needed to teach Little Bin cultivation. Of course, he could also teach the other children. Similarly, during these 2 years, he could calmly refine the soul weapon that Zichen had given him. Its grade was so high that it left him speechless. Even if he spent 2 years, he might not be able to refine it. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The 4 of them continued north. The saber intent that had not appeared before once again landed on the 3 of them. The road ahead became difficult again. He abandoned the carriage and followed behind the 3 of them on horseback. This trip was considered a sightseeing trip. If it were not for the saber intent, it would have been a rare trip. Once, in the wilderness, they saw a person living in a thatched hut. He was a human soul who was only a step away from the Earth Soul realm. According to a breakthrough was just around the corner. When the 4 of them passed by, the other party warmly invited them to drink a cup of mountain tea. He even saw a battle in a remote place. Both parties were in the human soul realm, and for some reason, they fought to the death. When the 4 of them approached, the 2 of them stopped and waited for the 4 of them to pass before continuing to attack. Zichen didn't understand why he deliberately walked between them. His explanation also puzzled Zichen. It was not easy to be a cultivator here. It would be good if one less died. He had also seen a transformed sea demon, but it was not from the Golden Scales clan. Although the other party hid its aura very well, Zichen still sensed it. He said, although the sea demons live at the bottom of the sea, they still need to live. They trade with the soul hunters, but most of them are here to collect information. No one cares? Zichen asked. Their concealment techniques are extremely profound. Only a few special existences can sense them. He looked at the sea demon who was browsing the shops. If we weren't here, who would know that he's from the sea demon clan? Of course, the main reason is that the sea demon clan doesn't have any hostility towards us, so the soul hunters let them be. They didn't stay in the city. They bought some things and rested for the night before continuing on their journey. The further north they went, the slower their speed became. This was because the saber intent that landed on them became purer. The 3 of them subconsciously slowed down. He sat on his horse and took his time. Just like that, they traveled for another half a year. During this time, they passed by 2 cities. Chen realized that the realms of the people he met were getting higher. He even saw Earth souls frequently. This made Chen very curious about what was in the north. His goal was to bring Lan Jiumeng to the north. Another half a year passed. On this day, the three of them endured the saber intent as usual. Shan Ya, who was walking beside Chen, suddenly dispersed the saber intent that flowed around her body after several hours. Immediately after, a powerful aura emanated from her body. This aura surpassed the human soul realm and reached the earth soul realm. He, who was behind them, noticed this scene. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. In his opinion, the first of the three to break through should be the divine soul goddess. He didn't expect it to be Shan Ya. Sensing the aura of the human soul realm, Chen smiled and said, "Congratulations." Lan Jiumeng also had a smile on her face. This was the only thing worth celebrating on this somewhat boring journey. Unfortunately, he didn't allow them to stop celebrating. They continued on their journey. He didn't even give Shan Ya time to quietly experience this realm. In just half a month, Lan Jiumeng broke through. She, who had been deliberately suppressing her state, reappeared the blue wings on her back. A unique aura was displayed. At this moment, under the sunlight, she was like a true heavenly maiden. At the same time, in the distant Lan family, the heavenly maiden statue also released a resplendent light. At the same time, a strong suction force enveloped the entire family. The spiritual energy of the entire Lan family was constantly converging towards the statue. The Lan family's spiritual energy was rapidly depleting. Such a phenomenon alarmed many people in the Lan family. Some were excited, while others cursed in low voices. Lan Rui, who was busy with work, personally came before the statue. He stood there for more than half a day. This time, the Lan family had spent a lot of effort to reorganize. If not for some radicals targeting the heavenly maiden, he would have been in even more trouble. Today's change should have been caused by the heavenly maiden's breakthrough. As a result, the heavenly maiden was only at the earth soul realm. He believed that no matter how radical the Lan family's radicals were, they wouldn't dare to assassinate the heavenly maiden. An earth soul realm heavenly maiden wasn't someone that could be killed by just anyone. The phenomenon on Lan Jiumeng's body didn't dissipate for a long time. This shocked He. He knew of the legends of heavenly maidens, but this was the first time he saw the phenomenon brought about by a heavenly maiden breaking through. She was only at the earth soul realm, but she was already so powerful. What would happen if she became a true heavenly maiden? No wonder it was said that heavenly maidens were the only hope of the north. Then, he looked at Chen. The disadvantage of being a descender was already displayed at this moment. No matter how strong Chen was and how invincible he was in the same realm, he was naturally nothing in front of two Earth Soul Realm experts. Alright, let's move forward at full speed and head straight for the north. After Lan Gumeng had broken through, he had said this sentence. Hey, isn't this too unfair? I haven't broken through yet. Chen expressed his inner protest. He said, your performance is already very good. The rest of the journey will depend on the two of them. After all, you are a descender. It's already very extraordinary for you to have such achievements. His words weren't just to encourage Chen. He really did it and began to move at full speed. This made Chen a little depressed. What's in the north? One day, Chen finally couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked. Chapter 3960. Death Canyon. This was the first time Chen had heard such a term. Yes, a place where only life and death are determined. He said in a deep voice, only when you reach that place will you know that life and death are the most important things in the world. He glanced at Chen and said, your combat strength is extraordinary, but not everyone can go to the battlefield in that place. The simplest division is the realm. Only those in the Earth Soul realm are qualified to enter the battlefield to participate in the battle, but they are only the lowest soldiers and can die at any time. Chen asked, the enemy is the soul-devouring clan? That's right. How long has the battle lasted? A long time, a long time. How will it end? He thought for a moment and said, There has always been a legend that when the Death Canyon is filled with corpses, the battle between the two clans will end completely. Although Zichen had never seen the Death Canyon, he could imagine the fierce battle that had taken place in it through his simple description. Only those in the Earth Soul realm could participate in the battle. Obviously, he was not qualified. He said, "When we reach the city, I'll try to find you a job without danger, such as being a chef." An invincible Soul realm expert who had not broken through was treated like this in the Death Canyon. Zichen did not know whether to cry or laugh. Under normal circumstances, Lan Jiu Meng would definitely laugh at Zichen, but she did not this time. Because Zichen's current situation seemed to be like a king with supreme power who had become an ordinary person in a single move. No one would be able to withstand such a change. Shan Yue even felt a little sad for Zichen. She felt that fate was too unfair. When he was in Carter, Zichen had already suffered a lot. When he came here, he was also surrounded by dangers. That was why he could achieve what he had today. Why did the last part of the journey turn out like this? A chef. That's not bad. I'm very good at cooking. Zichen smiled and looked very cheerful. He did not feel like a tiger that had fallen from the plains. They continued to move forward, still speeding up. The further they went, the fewer cities they encountered. The size of the cities was also getting smaller. However, the number of experts in the cities was not small. In the end, Zichen could no longer see any soul realms. According to he, nearly 60% of the soul hunters were gathered in the north. He was still riding a horse. During one of their chats, Zichen learned that the horse had been with he for a long time, and that it wasn't just bought from the roadside. On this day, he looked ahead and said, "Let's see what's different." Zichen looked ahead and saw a stretch of Gobi Desert, which was no different from this place. He raised his head to look at the sky. The color of the sky was different. It was a faint red. The clouds that gathered in the sky were blood red. That's called the blood cloud. It's said that it's formed from blood that won't disperse. He said, "Seeing the blood cloud means that we have arrived at the Death Canyon." He rode in the front. He entered the blood-red sky. The horse's body trembled obviously, as if it was bearing a great weight on its back. Zichen followed closely behind. His body swayed and he fell. A powerful force gathered from all directions, as if it wanted to press his body to the ground. At the same time, there seemed to be many small forces that entered his body, blocking the power of his entire body. The huge pressure kept coming, like a wave, pressing Zichen's body down bit by bit. Finally, he knelt on the ground, panting heavily. "How are you?" Shan Yue asked with concern, but her tone was not normal. Zichen shook his head and then looked at Shan Yue. He found that her face was very pale, and she did not seem to be feeling well. However, she still stood there, not in a sorry state like Zichen. On the other side, Lan Jiu Meng was the same. "This is the area where the Blood Canyon is. After coming here, you will need to re-understand this world." He rode forward, but the horse's speed was relatively slow. Zichen stood up with difficulty and walked forward step by step. His speed could not keep up with his horse. It should be noted that he was also walking with a heavy burden. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Yue were faster than Zichen. However, the two deliberately took care of Zichen and did not walk very fast. The difference is obvious. Zichen laughed self-deprecatingly. The further they went, the stronger the pressure Zichen found. Not only did he not adapt, but he also felt that it was difficult to move. On the other hand, Shan Yue and Lan Jiu Meng seemed to have gradually adapted. He looked back at Zichen. "How do you feel?" "There is a force that keeps entering my body, blocking the power of the past." Zichen said, "It's like the meridians are blocked, and the power that can be mobilized is very little." He said, "Feel it carefully and work hard to overcome it." Zichen nodded. After that, Zichen found that he could not overcome it at all. As they continued to move forward, he could not even mobilize the last bit of power. Zichen smiled bitterly again. After walking like this for several days, they ate all the food they brought. After being unable to mobilize power, Zichen found that his appetite had greatly increased, and he was often hungry. Finally, they saw a city. The city walls were blood-red, as if cast with blood and mud. The city gate was wide open, and there were no guards at the gate. As they approached, a bloody aura came, making Zichen feel a strong sense of oppression. They entered the city but did not see a single person. He dismounted from his horse and stood there. Zichen said, "This city seems to be empty." As soon as he said that, a man walked out from the corner and quickly walked toward them. When he came closer, the man asked, "Who are you?" He of the Holy Mountain. He took out the Holy Mountain token that represented his identity. After looking at the token, the man smiled and said, "The three of you come with me." He said, "Not 3, but 4. 4. The man was slightly stunned and said, "But he's only in the human soul realm." According to the rules, before the man could finish, he said, "I have the authority to take him in." "All right then." The man did not dwell on this matter and directly motioned for the 4 to follow. At this time, Zichen and the other 2 were still confused and did not know what was going on. The 5 of them walked toward the center of the city. Along the way, they saw some people, and all of them were in the human soul realm. Most of the gazes of these human soul realm experts would linger on Zichen. With Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ya beside him, Zichen was never the most eye-catching one, because it was never his turn. The 2 great beauties would take away all the attention. Unexpectedly, he became the focus of attention today. Chapter 3961. In the center of the city, there were 2 stone pillars. There were ancient carvings on the pillars, and on the carvings were some unknown beasts. An old man sat cross-legged beside them like a guardian. The people who appeared in Zichen's field of vision were all at the human soul realm. Furthermore, they were all sizing him up with strange gazes. It was as though Zichen received more attention and was more attractive than the 2 beautiful girls. The young man who led the way took the initiative to leave after bringing the 4 of them here. He walked forward with Zichen following behind. The 2 girls walked side by side with him on his left and right. The old man opened his eyes. His eyes were a little turbid and there was no aura around him. He didn't look like an otherworldly expert at all. However, to be able to guard this place, the old man's identity was naturally extraordinary. It was just that the few of them couldn't sense the old man's cultivation realm. Sacred Mountains He approached and took the initiative to bow to the old man. The old man glanced at He and nodded. Then, he looked to the side. When his gaze landed on Lan Jiumeng, his eyes seemed to sparkle. Then, he looked at Zichen and Shan Ya. "Although this is your first time here, Golden Saber his reputation has long been known. This time, are you and your saber prepared?" "My saber is sharp and ready to be stained with blood at any time," he said with a heroic aura. "That's good." The old man looked at Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ya. "There's no problem with the 2 of them." Then, the old man looked at Zichen who was standing in the middle. A human soul realm stood between 2 earth soul realm experts and acted as if it was only natural. It was quite interesting. Retracting his gaze from Zichen, the old man said, "But are you sure you want to let him in? Don't you need to adapt to this place? Since he's someone you brought, I can make an exception." As he didn't know much about this place, Zichen didn't know what the old man was talking about. He shook his head. "No need. Just go in. Since you've already made your decision, please go ahead." The old man sat there without moving. He walked forward to the center of the 2 pillars of light. The stone pillar, which had existed for an unknown number of years, began to glow. The carvings on it became vivid and lifelike. Those strange birds and beasts seemed to be coming to life. Zichen looked at the stone pillar and saw a familiar pattern. It was the blue dragon beast. Just as Zichen was surprised that the stone pillar had a blue dragon beast engraved on it, he saw a tunnel appear between the 2 stone pillars. "Follow me into Bloody Battle City." He was the first to step into the passageway. Immediately, a blood-red light burst out from the stone pillar. The old man nodded slightly, seemingly very satisfied with this. Walking behind Wn, he was Lan Jiu Meng. After she entered, she also brought about a strange phenomenon on the stone pillar. Within the original blood-red light, there was now a resplendent blue light. After that, it was Shan Ya's turn to enter the passageway, triggering a dazzling light. There was clearly a strange glint in the old man's eyes. Finally, it was Zi Chen. As a human soul, he was the last to enter. However, before he entered, the old man suddenly said, "If you can't persist, I can allow you to retreat. Sometimes, retreating is to advance better the next time. It's not shameful. Take this. You can retreat at any time." The old man threw a blood-colored token to Zi Chen. Zi Chen took the token but didn't immediately enter. After some hesitation, he asked, "Sir, may I ask where this place is?" "You don't know where this place is." The old man's eyes were filled with astonishment. "I only know that it's Death Canyon. Previously, I heard that we were about to go to Bloody Battle City. I don't know anything else," Zi Chen said truthfully. "Kid, you sure are bold. You dare come here to join in the fun without knowing where this place is." The old man sized up Zi Chen and said, "However, it's not a bad thing to not know where this place is. All you need to know is that this is a place for battle. In the entire world, there's no place more suitable for battle tempering than here." Zi Chen asked, "Then are there cultivation techniques here?" He had already sent Lan Jiu Meng to the north and completed the instructions of the Lan family's ancestor. Now, it was time for him to consider himself. After all, he had been here for too long. "Of course," said the old man. Zi Chen asked again, "Are there any special cultivation techniques?" This time, the old man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he thought about it seriously and finally said, "As long as you can name a cultivation method, there should be many. Even if you can't name it, there are still many. It depends on whether you have the ability to obtain it." At this point, Zi Chen was relieved. After putting away the blood-colored token, he cupped his fists at the old man and thanked him before turning to leave. Zi Chen, who entered, didn't cause any abnormalities to the stone pillar. However, the old man didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the world seemed to tremble the moment Zi Chen disappeared. However, some of the old men who were distracted wondered if they were hallucinating. He is already hard to find in 1,000 years, and the Holy Maiden is even more amazing. In addition, there's a strange woman who doesn't seem to be weaker than the Holy Maiden. They should be able to bring some changes to Bloody Battle City. The old man murmured, "I wonder where that woman came from. She's actually on par with the Holy Maiden." Then, the old man sighed again. The reason why he gave the young man whose name he didn't even know a chance to retreat was that the old man was in a good mood today. On the other hand, he was worried that the young man would be too stubborn and his mind wouldn't be able to bear the blow. After all, someone who could be recognized by he and brought in should have some special abilities. Perhaps with some training, he would become a warrior in the future. Even if his achievements couldn't be compared to any of the three, it would still be good to have another talented warrior. The young man who led the way earlier walked over. "Master, isn't this against the rules?" The old man turned his head and said, "What do you mean by against the rules? Bringing someone in earlier was already a privilege. Master also gave him a blood-colored battle token. This is a privilege that some general-level warriors don't even have. What if he uses this token to commit crimes after going in?" The young man said with some resentment in his eyes. The old man was amused when he heard this. "Get lost, you little brat. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Let me tell you, there's no way you can go in." The young man said with grievance, "Master, I'm your dearest disciple. You're even willing to give a stranger a blood-colored battle token. Why don't you allow me to go to Bloody Battle City?" "Why?" "Because this old man is in a good mood." "What do you know? Hurry up and get lost. When you master the soul-shaking art, you can stand in front of me and reason with me." The old man waved his sleeve and a wind appeared, carrying the young man away. The old man's mood was really good because after so many years, the Holy Maiden had finally come to Bloody Battle Valley. Zi Chen came to Bloody Battle City. The pressure of this world was even greater, so he needed some time to adapt. Chapter 3962. My name is Zhong Jinjing. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. First of all, I welcome you. Now, please come with me. After Zi Chen arrived at Bloody Battle City, Wn He, who was waiting here, said goodbye to him. The three of them left together, and the young man called Zhong Jinjing came. At this moment, Zi Chen's mind was in a mess. He didn't know what to ask. The sudden departure of the three of them made him feel a little uncomfortable. Zhong Jinjing turned around and walked in another direction. Zi Chen followed him, but after taking a few steps, he staggered and stumbled. The pressure here was extremely great. He still couldn't get used to it, so it was inconvenient for him to walk. Zhong Jinjing turned and saw this scene. He smiled and said, "It's always like this when you just arrive. I'll walk slower. You can get used to it." Zi Chen smiled gratefully and followed with difficulty. Zhong Jinjing took the initiative to say, "You were brought in directly by the three Earth Soul Realm experts from before, right?" Zi Chen nodded. Zhong Jinjing said with some envy, "If that's the case, there must be a general-level expert among the three of them." Zi Chen asked in confusion, "General-level expert? What do you mean?" Zhong Jinjing was obviously not surprised by Zi Chen's confusion. It was normal for people who came here to not understand the division of the system. He explained, all the Earth Soul Realm experts who enter the battlefield are only at the soldier level. Only by obtaining enough military merits can they be promoted to the general level and lead a small team. However, this is only the majority of people. There are some special existences. When they come here and pass the test, they already have the strength of the general level. Or some geniuses who became famous early and were recognized by others early on can also be granted the qualification of the general level in advance after coming here. And these people are qualified to bring a human soul realm expert here to train in advance. After hearing the other party's explanation, Zi Chen finally understood why those human soul realm experts looked at him with strange gazes. He had come in through the back door. Then under normal circumstances, how can one come here? Zi Chen asked. Now that I've gotten used to the suppression of the laws outside, my movements are no longer hindered. Furthermore, I've even gained the approval of the gatekeeper outside. Zhong Jinjing smiled and said, "The first reason is not necessary. The most important thing is the mood of the gatekeeper. If he says you are qualified, then you are qualified. If he says you are not, then it's not too late to wait and come in." The old man from before. This made Zi Chen's heart beat faster. This wasn't the first time the other party had said that he wasn't qualified enough. Was it really a mistake for him to come here? The old man from before? Zi Chen asked. Zhong Jinjing nodded. Because there was only one gatekeeper, there wouldn't be any cognitive errors. It was said that the old man had been looking for a suitable successor to become the next gatekeeper. This made many human souls who came here to try their luck, but none of them caught the old man's eye. Will there be times when he makes a mistake? Zi Chen asked. Zhong Jinjing hurriedly gestured for him to keep quiet. He warned him in a low voice, "Be careful with your words. Lord Gatekeeper possesses remarkable abilities. He is an out-and-out heavenly soul. How could he make a mistake?" Heavenly soul? Zi Chen's expression changed slightly, and he was somewhat shocked. This was because this represented the highest realm in this world. Just like the Saint Venerables in the Saint Spirit domain, they were at the top of the pyramid. How could that ordinary old man with blurred eyes be so powerful? Furthermore, he could hear him just by muttering a few words here and there. Wasn't this a little too strange? However, looking at Zhong Jinjing's serious expression, it clearly didn't seem like he was joking. At the entrance, the old man who was sitting cross-legged had a smile on his face. "You little kid, it's one thing to say that this old man is ordinary, but you actually said that this old man's eyes are blurred. This is called reserved, okay? Forget it, I won't argue with this ignorant junior. I don't want to lose face. Your situation belongs to the latter, so there should be some small troubles coming for you. You just need to be more tolerant, because private fights are not allowed here. No matter what happens, private fights are not allowed." Zhong Jinjing pointed in the direction that Wn He and the others had left. "If the grudge is too great, then go to the canyon and fight. What should I do next? Zichen gradually caught up with Zhong Jinjing, who had deliberately slowed down his pace. Zhong Jinjing carefully sized up Zichen. In your current state, you should get used to it first. We'll talk about other things when you're free to move. The rest of the journey was all by walking, which gave Zichen more time to get used to it. Along the way, Zhong Jinjing took the initiative to talk about the situation here. For example, most of the workers here were chefs. They needed to cook a strange beast that could only be found in the Death Canyon. Everyone relied on this beast to replenish their energy and maintain their lives. Human soul realm experts were not allowed to participate in the battle. This was a rule that no one could defy. When Zichen asked for the reason, Zhong Jinjing told him that it was because human soul realm experts weren't going to fight at all, but going to their deaths. There were too many corpses in the Death Canyon, so one more didn't matter. There's something more important that I haven't told you, and that's the Death Soul Stone. Speaking of this, Zhong Jinjing's expression became extremely serious. In this blood-red world, there are rules that belong to it. Regardless of whether it's the soul hunters or the soul devourers, once they're killed, they'll leave behind a Death Soul Stone. The Death Soul Stone is both a merit and money. It can also be used as a resource to increase one's realm. It's the most precious thing. Zichen memorized the Death Soul Stone, but it wasn't what he wanted. He was most concerned about the cultivation method. Where can I get the cultivation method? Cultivation method, of course. Zhong Jinjing sighed and then looked up at the sky. When you advance to the Earth Soul realm and accumulate enough merit, the gate of sky will naturally open for you. There, you'll have endless cultivation methods to choose from. Zichen looked up but didn't see the gate of sky. Only with enough merit can you see it and open it. Zhong Jinjing brought Zichen to the place of residence. Fortunately, the place was pretty good. Everyone had a room, and they didn't have to share it. I'll go and make some arrangements. I'll come and find you in 5 days. By the way, what's your name? Zhong Jinjing asked. Zichen said, Zichen. Zhong Jinjing said, I'm only giving you 5 days to adapt. It's indeed a little rushed, but this is the most I can provide. Under normal circumstances, it's 1 day. After feeling his own condition, Zichen said, thank you. 5 days should be enough. Well, I won't disturb you anymore. Zhong Jinjing said goodbye and left. Zichen didn't have time to feel emotional about all this. He didn't dare to waste any time and began to try his best to adapt. The cultivation method was running, but no power was mobilized. However, Zichen didn't give up and kept persevering. Just as Zichen was trying his best to adapt to this place, he took the 2 girls and took the test. The dazzling light that erupted from the light pillar caused an uproar. Everyone was extremely shocked. In addition to Jindo He, Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Ya both had the potential to reach the general realm. It was extremely rare to have 3 general realm experts in 1 day. The 3 of them became the absolute focus of everyone's attention. Although the 2 girls had long been used to being the center of attention, they were still not used to it because they were surrounded by people in the Earth Soul realm. Immediately, an old man walked out and personally received the 3 of them. In just half a day, the news about the 3 of them had spread. It was said that Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Ya voluntarily gave up the opportunity to reach the general realm and were willing to join his team. At the same time, 2 unfamiliar Earth Soul realm experts joined them, forming a 5-person team. They didn't immediately participate in the battle. Instead, they first familiarized themselves with everything here, including the rules. Even when they first participated in the battle, someone had to secretly protect them. These 3 people with the potential to reach the general realm couldn't have any accidents happen to them in their first battle. That would be a great loss for the soul hunting race. They learned everything about this place, including some secrets. They knew far more than Zichen. They learned about it for 3 days. On the 4th day, they entered the Death Canyon for the first time to adapt to the environment there. Zichen stayed in his room and tried his best to adapt. Although he still couldn't mobilize his power, Zichen, who had been persevering, made great progress. Zhong Jinjing would come twice a day to deliver food to Zichen. Without any power to use, Zichen was like an ordinary person. Every day, he would expend a lot of energy to use his cultivation technique, so he would need to replenish himself with food. It was said that it was the meat of a kind of exotic beast. It was a little raw and didn't taste very good, but it contained a lot of power. A small piece was enough to fill one's stomach. On this day, after Zhong Jinjing brought food to Zichen, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he talked about some things he had heard. 3 general realm experts in one day. That's really amazing. Zhong Jinjing sighed and then opened his mouth. I know about Lord Wan He. The name of Golden Saber has spread all over this place. Who knows how many powerful people are secretly waiting for him to come. Moreover, he didn't disappoint. Golden Saber successfully advanced to the top 10 and came to the Death Canyon. Zichen had followed Wan He and heard about the 10th place, but he didn't understand its meaning. He asked curiously, why is Golden Saber in the top 10? Only the top 10 Holy Soul weapons are qualified to become General Realm experts. This is already common knowledge, Zhong Jinjing said. Zichen was very surprised that he was paying attention to the Holy Soul weapon list on the Holy Mountain. Lord Wan, his weapon level is high enough, but are those 2 beauties high enough? Zhong Jinjing murmured, one is Lan Jiu Meng, and the other is Shan Ya. They look very young and are top beauties. They haven't been famous before. Why are they on the same level as Lord Wan He? By the way, Zichen, the 3 of them are said to have arrived on the same day as you. You should know them, right? Yes, it was the 3 of them who brought me in. I'm very grateful for that, Zichen said without hiding anything. That's great, Zhong Jinjing said excitedly. Then your relationship must be very good, right? Looking at Zhong Jinjing's excited look, Zichen thought for a moment and said, it's mainly Lord Wan He who brought me in. As for the 2 of them, they're just ordinary. These words were carefully considered because Zhong Jinjing's expression was obviously not right. Just ordinary is good. You can definitely talk to each other. Zhong Jinjing lowered his head and whispered in Zichen's ear, I have a business deal. Would you like to join in? If you're lucky, you might get a Death Soul Stone. Looking at his shining eyes, Zichen shook his head and said, not interested. Chapter 3963. Hearing Zichen's unhesitant rejection, Zhong Jinjing became anxious. Don't do that. That's a Death Soul Stone. If you get one, not only will you be able to adapt to this place faster, you might even be able to break through to the Earth Soul Realm. After all, that's the essence of an Earth Soul Realm expert. It's extremely beneficial to us. Zichen shook his head again and said helplessly, I know that the Death Soul Stone is a good thing, but I can't do anything about it. I'm not close to them. Zhong Jinjing said, you don't have to be too close to them. As long as you know them and can pass on the message, it's fine. I promise that you won't be short of benefit. Zichen obviously understood what Zhong Jinjing meant, but he still did not agree. Zhong Jinjing was helpless, but he did not force Zichen. He bid farewell and left. When he reached the door, he shook his head regretfully. How can there be such an unenlightened person in this world? In the room, Zichen smiled. Looks like the 2 of you are not bad. I might have to rely on the 2 of you for a long time. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. Zichen walked out of the room for the first time. The pressure here still affected him to a certain extent, but it was not as great as before. He could also move freely. Zhong Jinjing punctually waited at the door and said, it's been arranged. From now on, you'll be in charge of handling the beast meat with the others. Zichen clasped his fists and said, thank you. Zhong Jinjing smiled and said, are you really not going to consider that matter? Zichen said helplessly, there's no way to consider it. I'm not close to them. Otherwise, why wouldn't they come to see me? We're really just strangers who met by chance. Zhong Jinjing sized up Zichen as if he was looking at a monster. What? Zichen felt uneasy being stared at. He thought that he had made a mistake somewhere. Zhong Jinjing said, don't you know? The 2 fairies are familiarizing themselves with the battlefield. The rules here are far more than usual. They have to abide by all the rules and know all the details. Although they've been to the battlefield once, the higher-ups have forbidden them from taking action. Why? Zichen asked, puzzled. Because it's important. They definitely can't be allowed to take any risks and face any danger. It's said that more than one heavenly soul realm expert is secretly guarding them. They're afraid that they'll be in danger. Zhong Jinjing sighed and said, to tell you the truth, according to the information I received, many seniors regard the two fairies as their treasures. They can't wait to tell them all the threats and rules in this place in advance. If it were an ordinary person, they would have already entered the battlefield. As for the rules and dangers, they would have to figure it out themselves. When Zichen heard this, he was relieved. It seemed that the two of them were in a better situation than Zichen had imagined. The fact that Lan Jiyu Meng was the goddess of the divine soul still had not spread. This proved that the people here wanted to suppress this matter as a top secret. However, the importance they attached to the goddess of the divine soul did not decrease. Zichen was happy for Lan Jiyu Meng from the bottom of his heart. Compared to the trap set by the Lan family on the way here, the people here treated her sincerely. This was her home. As for Shan Ya receiving the same treatment, it was definitely done by those with extraordinary eyesight. This was because Zichen knew that in terms of talent, Shan Ya, who was favored by the heavens, was not inferior to the goddess of the divine soul. Zhong Jinjing brought Zichen to an extremely large room. Along the way, the human soul realm experts would nod at Zhong Jinjing when they saw him. Zhong Jinjing would also smile in response. It was obvious that he was very popular with people. Zichen, this is the place in charge of dissecting the beast meat. As this is your first time here, the last position is yours. The head here will tell you what you need to do every day. Zhong Jinjing gently waved his hand. A man in a long gown walked over. Zhong Jinjing smiled and said, Di Wu, this is the Zichen that I told you about. Zichen, this is Di Wu, the head here. He is also the manager. Zichen quickly cupped his fists and said, Zichen greets big brother Di Wu. Di Wu smiled like an elegant scholar and said, no need to be so courteous. We are all family from now on. Go over there and familiarize yourself. Zichen nodded and walked towards the last position. In this enormous room, there were at least 100 people dissecting the beast meat. The smell of blood permeated the air. This place was only in charge of the preliminary processing. As for the cooking, it was done by someone else. Just as he arrived at his position, a young butterball came to Zichen. He sized up Zichen and said in a deep voice, Newcomer, call me senior brother. Zichen smiled. Butterball said again, call me senior brother. Call me senior brother now. Zichen said, are you sure? He squinted his eyes and there seemed to be sharpness in his eyes. The fatty's body trembled. The imposing manner that he had put on earlier had completely disappeared. His straight back had also drooped down at this moment. Zichen patted him on the shoulder and smiled. That's good. You really didn't put on a good act before. The reason why he was certain that the other party was putting on an act was because when the fatty was on his way here, the few people along the way all looked at him with undisguised disgust. How could such a person be a senior brother? Zichen said, I am Zichen. Don't do such stupid things in the future. Otherwise, people will hate you even more. Butterball snorted and said, count yourself lucky. I am here to warn you. Be careful in the future. They are very unfriendly to those who came in through connections. Zichen still had the smile on his face. You should use the word warn. That would be more pleasing. Butterball turned and left. The people around him didn't want to see him. Butterball walked to a corner and began to deal with the pile of internal organs. It seemed that his status was lower than Zichen's, the newcomer. Then, Zichen realized that the way the people looked at him was a little different. Zichen just smiled at them. Then, like the people beside him, he took a tool and began to dissect. A day passed. Zichen was silent and didn't rest. Naturally, no trouble came to him. During this time, there were some deliberate words, but Zichen didn't take it to heart. In the eyes of the people, this seemed to be taking the initiative to show weakness. Therefore, there was less trouble. After all, Zichen still had a connection, so no one dared to deliberately provoke him. Day after day, Zichen's days were very peaceful. Every day, he could hear news about Shan Ya and Lan Jiyu Meng. The two girls had become the focus of everyone's attention. Other than beauties, there were also heroes. It was said that many young geniuses had launched wooing attacks towards the two of them, but it was said that they had never received a response. Chen, who was dissecting the beast meat, couldn't help but shake his head and smile when he heard this news. It seemed that no matter where he went, there would be gossip. Zhong Jinjing didn't come again during this period of time, which made Chen much quieter. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. It was said that Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Yue had finally remembered all the rules and stepped onto the battlefield. For a moment, everyone was guessing if the two of them had returned empty-handed. On the same day, the team returned successfully. It was said that they had gained something. This news was brought back by those who sent food to the Earth Soul realm. Some of it was true, while others were fabricated. Originally, Chen only listened to it as a story. In any case, other than Zhong Jinjing, no one knew that he knew the two girls. But on the day the two girls returned from the battlefield, his peaceful life was broken. Chapter 3964. There were more than 100 people in the operation room. When they found out that Fairy Shan Yue was outside the door, they were all in disbelief. Then, everyone scrambled to run out of the door. They all wanted to see the beauty of the fairy. Who knew that at this moment, everyone's eyes lit up. Fairy Shan Yue actually took the initiative to come in. She didn't mind the dirty and messy place and the thick smell of blood. Zhong Jinjing followed beside Shan Yue with a smile and pride on his face. Di Wu quickly came forward. He was also surprised by the appearance of this fairy. After entering, Shan Yue's eyes quickly looked around. Then, she saw Chen in the end. He was wearing a special uniform, which was stained with blood. Chen! She shouted. In the end, Chen became the focus of everyone's attention. Everyone's gazes were filled with complicated and inexplicable emotions. Butterball, who was far away, was shocked. He looked at Chen in disbelief. Chen took off his uniform, turned around, and smiled at Shan Yue. Then, he walked over. Everyone's eyes were on Chen as he moved. Their expressions kept changing. "Why are you here?" Chen asked as he walked closer. "I came to visit you when I had time." "How's it here?" Shan Yue asked with a smile. At this moment, the entire operation room that was filled with the smell of blood seemed to have brightened up because of Shan Yue's smile. "Not bad. Everyone treats me well," Chen said. Zhong Jinjing, who was at the side, opened his eyes wide. Didn't this kid say that he wasn't close to the two fairies? Since they weren't close, why did the fairies specially come to visit him? "Let's talk outside," Shan Yue said. Chen glanced at Di Wu. Di Wu nodded in tacit agreement. "Let's go." Chen walked forward. Shan Yue habitually followed behind Chen. At this moment, Zhong Jinjing was even more dumbfounded. The surrounding people were also stunned. Di Wu's expression changed slightly. However, Chen slowed down very quickly. When Shan Yue approached him, Chen deliberately slowed down by half a step. This way, it looked much more normal. "Hurry up, I have something good for you." Who would have thought that at this moment, Shania would pull Chen and walk towards the outer door. Chen did not turn around, but he could still feel the burning gazes behind him. Big brother, master, God. In the distance, Butterball's eyes were filled with admiration as he tried his best to widen them. Walking out of the door, Shan Yue let go of Chen's hand and winked at him playfully. "I say, fairy, why do you have to be like this?" Chen couldn't help but smile bitterly. "In the past, you were the one who took care of me. From now on, this fairy will take care of you." Shan Yue smiled and said, "See, didn't I help you gain some face just now?" Chen smiled bitterly again. How was that gaining some face? It was clearly gaining a lot of hatred. "Let's go to your residence and see if the environment here is good," Shan Yue said. "Let's go." Chen could only nod. Just as the two of them were leaving, one of them quietly appeared and ran back the way they came from. They went back. Fairy actually followed Chen back to his residence. As the news spread, there was an uproar in the operation room. Zhong Jinjing was regretful because he felt that he missed out on a big deal. On the other hand, Di Wu looked at Zhong Jinjing with a questioning gaze. Zhong Jinjing was annoyed. This Zi Chen looked honest. Why didn't he tell the truth? Looking at his relationship with Fairy Shan Ya, could he be Fairy's brother? As for lovers, he didn't even think about it. After all, how could a general stage prodigy like a mere human soul stage that wasn't outstanding at all? After returning to Zi Chen's room, Shan Ya looked around and said, "It's not bad. 1 room per person." Zi Chen gestured for her to sit down and poured a cup of water for Shan Ya. He said, "What's wrong? Are you in trouble?" "What do you mean?" Shan Ya didn't understand. "Using me as a shield. If you're not in trouble, then what is?" Zi Chen glanced at Shan Ya and said angrily, "I don't understand others, but do you think I don't understand you, Fairy?" Shan Ya was a little embarrassed, but she was happy in her heart. It's indeed a little troublesome. Some people are always using various reasons to get close to us. There are even a few heavenly souls who intend to be matchmakers for their juniors. Shan Ya secretly glanced at Zi Chen and deliberately raised her voice. Being pursued by so many people and not knowing who to choose is really troublesome. Zi Chen pretended not to hear her. "So you pushed me out. We can't ask Wan he, right? He doesn't care about anything, and we don't know anyone here. We can only ask you," Shan Ya said pitifully. It had only been a month since they last met, and this girl had learned how to act. Zi Chen said helplessly, "But I'm only at the human soul stage. Can I stop them?" Shan Ya immediately came forward and said, "That's why we brought you something good." At such a close distance, Zi Chen could even smell the fragrance coming from Shan Ya's body. 2 death soul stones. I hope you can break through quickly. 1 stone could be obtained from killing an Earth Soul stage expert. Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng had only been on the battlefield once since they came here. It seemed like these were their spoils of war. Xiao Ya was afraid that you would be under too much pressure, so he didn't come. But we've already gotten the message. You have to work hard. We're waiting for you to save us. With that, Shan Ya put down the Death Soul stones and walked away. But after taking a few steps, her eyes turned slightly, and she stopped again. She told Zi Chen some things about the Death Canyon. Other than being careful of the soul-devouring race, you also have to be careful of the strange beasts there. Those strange beasts are also everyone's food source, the ones you decomposed. The canyon is not a real canyon. It's more like a world, or an independent battlefield. Shan Ya said, "It's impossible to fill that battlefield with corpses. The battle between the soul-devouring race and the soul-hunting race will definitely not end. Everyone can die on the battlefield, including those at the heavenly soul realm." On this day, news came that Fairy Shan Ya had left the bloody battle inner city and went to the outer city to find a human soul stage expert. She stayed in his room for 4 hours. When this news came out, it caused an uproar. It should be known that the 2 fairies had not communicated with outsiders for more than a month since they came here. They were very aloof. Why did they look for a human soul stage expert? For a moment, everyone began to ask about the human soul stage expert's name and background. Zi Chen had not broken through yet, nor had he advanced, but his reputation had spread. Many Earth Soul stage experts even began to pay attention to Zi Chen, wanting to know more about him. The gatekeeper at the entrance shook his head and said, "Young man, your training has begun. Actually, it's best for you to take a step back now. You don't have the strength, but you still want to show off. That's a bad idea." With a loud bang, Zi Chen's door was kicked open, and an ear-piercing sound was heard. Chapter 3965. Zi Chen, who was cultivating with his legs crossed, opened his eyes. His eyes were calm, and there were no other emotions in them. He heard the other party's hurried footsteps earlier, so Zi Chen wasn't surprised at all. He even kept the Death Soul stone in advance. Zi Chen accepted the 2 Death Soul stones given by Shan Ya. He didn't reject them as he wanted to speed up his growth. He looked at the sky. It wasn't time for work yet, but he didn't argue. He stood up and walked out. He knew the person standing at the door angrily. He was called Wei Hua. He had a bad temper usually and used words to bully Zichen before. Zichen took a glance at Wei Hua, then took his work uniform and went to work. Only Di Wu was there when he arrived. There was no one else other than him. Zichen nodded slightly at Di Wu, then walked to his workstation. Di Wu said indifferently, "Your mission today is to dissect 50 mutated beasts." "Got it." Zichen replied indifferently and picked up a mutated beast to dissect it. There was a figure moving around in the corner. Zichen glanced at that direction and realized it was the unwelcomed Butterball. Butterball had endless work every day and it was very tiring. However, Zichen didn't expect him to come so early. Looking at Butterball's indifferent expression, it shouldn't have been a day or two ago. This made Zichen, who was feeling uncomfortable earlier, feel better. Compared to the most annoying and most tiring Butterball, his situation was much better. Butterball seemed to have noticed Zichen's gaze. He turned around and looked at Zichen, then gave him a gloating smile. Zichen glared at Butterball and turned around to work. Originally, no matter how hard he worked, he could only dissect 30 mutated beasts a day. Today, he increased it to 50. Not only did he have to wake up early, but he also had to return late. It seemed like trouble had come knocking on his door. Zichen started to decompose while Di Wu watched from afar like a competent supervisor. 2 hours later, everyone arrived. When they saw that Zichen had already dissected the beast meat, everyone was slightly startled. In the end, they smiled indifferently. This brat was too arrogant. Just because he knew the fairy, he didn't put anyone in his eyes. Usually, when they met, he would just nod and not even say a word. Now, he was being targeted. There was no doubt that everyone was rejoicing in his misfortune. Originally, there were some who wanted to build a good relationship with Zichen, but at this moment, they secretly gave up on this idea. At noon, Butterball came in with food. "Boss said that you have a lot of work to do. Don't rest at noon. Continue." Zichen picked up the food and sat down to eat. Without any energy to circulate in his body, Zichen, who had been busy all morning, was famished. Everyone else had gone to eat, so the entire operation room seemed empty. Butterball was also at the side, eating and laughing. "What are you laughing at?" Zichen asked. "Of course I'm laughing at you. You're worse off than me now," Butterball said. Zichen said indifferently, "Worse off than you? Are you sure? I'm only working overtime today." Butterball extended a finger and shook it. No, you're starting to work overtime today, not just today." Zichen's expression was still calm. "At most, it won't be more than half a month." Butterball laughed. "Seems like you still have some self-awareness, but you don't understand this place. If you're like this the first time, you'll be very miserable next time. Trust me, it'll be very, very miserable." Zichen glanced at the proud Butterball and said, "So what if it's miserable? Aren't you here too? You should have woken up earlier than me. That's different. I can get off work anytime. I don't have a fixed workload. Unlike you." Then, little Butterball extended his head and asked mysteriously, "Are you really close to the fairy? How did you know each other?" "Not close, I don't know her." Listening to Zichen's perfunctory tone, Butterball said discontentedly, "Zichen, you should be happy now that I'm in front of you and can be your friend. Do you think there's anyone else in this place other than me who would talk to you? So, you should be grateful. Why don't you hurry up and answer my questions? I think you can get out of here." Zichen finished eating and continued to work. Today's workload was indeed not small. Butterball sat there alone, chuckling. He was not angry because he finally had a friend, and that was Zichen, who was also not liked by others. In this place, only he was willing to be Zichen's friend. Similarly, only this kind of Zichen could be his friend. Butterball's so-called friend was just a companion at work. He returned to his original position and continued to deal with the smelly internal organs. Zichen, the one who came last time, was the fairy Shan Ya. "Do you know the fairy Lan Jiu Meng?" Butterball's voice sounded in the distance. Of course, Zichen did not respond. The other party did not seem to want Zi Chen to respond and continued to speak. The fairy took the initiative to hold your hand last time. Did you feel very happy? Did you feel like fainting in an instant? The fairy took the initiative to hold your hand and did not avoid it at all. Do you know how many people's eyes were fixed at that time? How many people wanted to replace her? Listening to the other party's noisy words, Zi Chen said impatiently, "That's nothing. The fairy Shan you speak of wanted to marry me, but I rejected her." Butterball clicked his tongue and said, "Kid, your big words are too funny. You should say it when there are more people. I believe everyone will laugh until their teeth fall out. Then you can pick up all your teeth on the ground." Seeing that Zi Chen did not respond, Butterball said again, "By the way, Zi Chen, do you think you are the brother of the fairy Shan or a relative? Otherwise, why would the fairy not avoid you? It is said that there are many handsome men who want to strike up a conversation with the fairy inside, but they are all rejected. The fairy is cold to everyone, but in front of you, she actually shows a charming fairy smile." In the operation room, other than the sound of the analysis, there was only Butterball's words. Often, he would say 8 or 10 sentences, and Zi Chen would not respond. However, compared to being alone in the past, it was much better. At least he had a companion. That night, Zi Chen finished his work for the day. At the same time, Butterball also stood up and stretched. Di Wu, who had been standing there until the end, said indifferently, "Today's performance is not bad. Continue tomorrow, the quantity will remain the same." When the fatty heard this, he chuckled and gloated. Zi Chen, on the other hand, did not take it to heart. After returning to his room, he felt tired. He took out the Death Soul Stone and started refining it. On the second day, Zi Chen woke up early and went to the operation room without being called. Butterball had already started his work. He was indeed working harder than everyone else. "Welcome, welcome." Seeing Zi Chen coming in, Butterball smiled. After Zi Chen came in, Di Wu came in too. He stood there for almost an entire day. 3 days had passed. Zi Chen completed the analysis according to the rules every day. It seemed to be getting easier and easier. On the 4th day, Di Wu said, "Increase the quantity today, 60. Chapter 3966. Looking at Zi Chen's reluctant look, Di Wu sneered, "Why? You're not willing?" Butterball, who was far away, quickly winked at Zi Chen, as though telling him not to be rash. "Seems like you really don't care about everyone. Are you really that naive to think that you can do whatever you want here just because you know a fairy?" Di Wu's gaze towards Zi Chen gradually turned cold. "From now on, you have to dissect 65 mutated beasts before you can rest." Finishing his words, Di Wu turned and left. Butterball, who was far away, ran over. He looked at Zi Chen and said, "Zi Chen, you're too rash. In this place, Di Wu is the god, no one can control him. Even Zhong Jinjing, who brought you here last time, didn't dare to make things difficult for Di Wu. You could rest after dissecting 60 mutated beasts. Now, you have to dissect 5 more." Butterball patted Zi Chen's shoulder and gave him an expression that said, "Good luck to you, I can't help you even if I want to." However, after turning around, he started to gloat. Because according to the current situation, Zi Chen would have to wake up early again tomorrow. Perhaps the two of them could come together again. Zi Chen already expected to be targeted, but he didn't expect Di Wu to have such a huge reaction when he frowned. Moreover, Zhong Jinjing didn't come again after a few days. It seemed like he had given up on that business. The sabers in Zi Chen's hands were special in this region. Every one of them was a soul weapon, and they were of extremely high grade. Zi Chen even guessed that their grade might be on par with the black rod that didn't advance. On this day, Butterball still talked a lot of nonsense. Those human souls who came at the usual time were still gloating. However, no one mocked Zi Chen intentionally anymore. It seemed like everyone was waiting for something. For example, the fairy's return. Di Wu stood at the door again, supervising everyone's work. When it was mealtime, Butterball took the initiative to deliver food again. There were only 2 people in the huge operation room. The 2 of them squatted there and ate. Butterball, who couldn't stay still, once again asked about the fairy Shan Ya. Zichen couldn't be bothered to listen anymore. He interrupted the other party and asked, Butterball, why do you have to do so much work? Butterball chewed the meat and said vaguely, because I'm annoying. Zichen looked at Butterball with a strange expression. Butterball quickly swallowed the food in his mouth and said, I'm just kidding. Don't take it seriously. You think this is a very unpleasant job, right? Actually, that's not the case. Many people fought for it, but unfortunately, none of them had the ability. In the end, it was mine. Speaking of this matter, Butterball had a complacent look on his face. It was as if this job was a great honor and he had fought for it all the way. Zichen said sincerely, your acting skills are on par with Fang Wulian, but your skin is much thicker than his. Who's Fang Wulian? Butterball asked. A friend of mine. Zichen said. Butterball's eyes lit up and said, so you're saying that you treat me as a friend too? Pretend I didn't say anything. Zichen continued to eat with his head lowered. This damn Butterball is still not telling the truth. Why is everyone fighting for this stupid job? Are they all blind? After eating, Zichen continued to work. Butterball also ran to another corner to deal with the mutated beast's innards. No matter how one looked at it, it wasn't a job that many people would fight for. After dinner, everyone left. Zichen continued his unfinished work. Di Wu watched for 2 hours before leaving. Butterball didn't leave either. When Zichen finished his work, Butterball stood up and the two of them left together. It was the same for the next 2 days. On the way back, Zichen looked at Butterball and said, Damn Butterball, tell me honestly. Are you a spy sent by Di Wu? If I don't complete the task, you'll expose me, right? Butterball looked wronged. I've been doing this job for so many years. Could it be that Di Wu has the ability to predict the future and knew that Zichen would come? It's good that you're not. If I find out that you're a spy, I'll beat you up. Zichen raised his fist. Butterball's body trembled subconsciously and dodged. He seemed to have suffered a lot like this before. Look at your cowardly face. If someone beats you up in the future, raise your fist and beat them back. Zichen loosened his fist. But I can't beat them, and they have more people. Butterball said, feeling wronged. Zichen's eyes suddenly turned cold. If you can't beat everyone, then catch the one who bullied you and beat him to death. Butterball shrunk his neck and said, fighting is not allowed here, not to mention a fight to the death. This is the rule. Get lost. Zichen waved his sleeve and gave Butterball a get lost as a reward. Then, he walked back to his room. After returning to his room, he continued to refine the Death Soul Stone. The energy contained in a piece of Death Soul Stone was completely out of Zichen's imagination. Just as Zichen was getting familiar with it, Di Wu said again one morning, break down 70 of them today. With another 5, the workload increased again. This time, Zichen didn't argue because he had experience. Even if his expression changed, Di Wu would purposely increase the number. Moreover, Di Wu would supervise him. Even when he wasn't around, Butterball would still be around. This made Zichen suspect that Butterball would expose him. 75, 80. The number was still increasing. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Zhong Jinjing didn't come, and no one else came to look for him. According to Zichen's estimation, this display of power seemed to be taking too long. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. Zichen could already break down 80 of them in a day. His speed was much faster than before. But on the second day, Di Wu increased the number to 100 per day. This time, he didn't even give Zichen a chance to reject him. He turned and left. Zichen was left alone, and the sky had just begun to brighten. Butterball walked over from the side. This time, he didn't mock Zichen. Instead, he said with pity, you're in trouble, breaking down 100 per day. It has been many years since someone like you appeared. Zichen frowned and fell into deep thoughts. Did I estimate wrongly? After this display of power, he didn't tempt me with benefits. Is he waiting for me to give in and take the initiative? Just then, Butterball picked up Zichen's saber. Your method of breaking down seems to be wrong. Try this and see if you can break it down faster. Zichen dismissed the thought in his mind and looked at Butterball. He wouldn't give in voluntarily. Different situations call for different actions. Butterball held the saber with his right hand. Veins appeared on the back of his hand as if he was accumulating strength. It said that those outstanding general-level existences had a unique way of breaking down meat at an extremely fast speed. Although their current achievements have nothing to do with the way they broke down meat, it's still a beautiful story. Take the current top 10 as an example. Even the 10th person, Yarrow Yi, had a record of 150. Butterball turned to look at Zi Chen and said, "It's 150 at a normal time. You don't have to wake up early to work overtime and rest at noon. You can even leave early at night." Butterball shook his hand gently. A ray of light shone from the saber in his hand. The saber was placed horizontally on the meat that had its internal organs removed. With another shake of his hand, a skillful force was activated through the saber and the entire rack of meat flew up. Butterball had a rare serious expression on his face. He was like a swordsman who had studied swordsmanship for many years. When he raised his saber, a cold ray flickered. Chapter 3967. Shan Ya, long time no see. Did you go hunting again? How did it go? A young man in white stood on the road in front of the mountain. He held a folding fan in his hand and had a handsome face. He looked very confident and at ease. With her path blocked, Shan Ya stopped. She glanced at the other party and asked, "Who are you?" The smile on the young man's face did not diminish. "I'm Yarrow Yi, one of the 10 general talents." Shan Ya said lightly, "I've never heard of him and I don't know him." "What about you? Have you heard of him?" Shan Ya looked back at Lan Jiu Meng who was walking over. Lan Jiu Meng said, "I've heard of someone called Car Steward. He seems to be one of the 10 talents. By the way, what rank did you say you were?" "10th, Yarrow Yi." The smile on Yarrow Yi's face was a little forced. "I've never heard of him and we're not familiar with him." "Don't block the way," Lan Jiu Meng said lightly. Yarrow Yi's face was a little distorted. He said indifferently, "My grandfather is Immortal Tianju." Lan Jiu Meng looked back at Yarrow Yi. "We know about Immortal Tianju, but we really don't know about you." After that, the two women left. It was extremely rare to be able to talk so much with Yarrow Yi. "You'll regret it." The humiliated Yarrow Yi's eyes were spitting fire. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The knife was a boning knife. It was special. It was very sharp and shiny. The moment Butterball took out the knife, Zi Chen had a whole new level of respect for him. He did not expect that Butterball, who was hated by everyone, was actually a great swordsman. Was the work of handling the internal organs of exotic beasts all day long really a job that everyone competed for? Just when Zi Chen was doubting himself and looking at Butterball with a new level of respect, he saw the shining knife light was submerged by the meat. Then, the meat hit Butterball's head. Butterball screamed. "Save me." Butterball, whose head was covered by the meat, began to scream. Zi Chen shook his head and dispelled all his previous misconceptions. He took the meat from Butterball's head. Butterball put down the boning knife and said awkwardly, "I'm just giving you a demonstration. I remember that Yarrow Yi did this before." After saying that, Butterball turned around and ran away. It was obvious that he had screwed up this time. Zi Chen stood in place and didn't mock Butterball. Although the result was a little comical, Butterball's previous actions had given Zi Chen a lot of inspiration. Perhaps, he could change his train of thought or try a different method. In the distance, Butterball saw that Zi Chen didn't speak for a long time, so he plucked up his courage and said, "There used to be a driver who could decompose 200 animals a day. It's said that he even learned a new technique because of that." Zi Chen closed his eyes and recalled Butterball's previous actions in his mind. He seemed to have been inspired. Butterball stood in the distance and looked at Zi Chen, who was deep in thought. He muttered, "It can't be, right? He really learned something." Butterball had obviously screwed up earlier, but he had given Zi Chen a lot of inspiration. At this moment, that scene replayed in Zi Chen's mind. However, it wasn't Butterball who had made the knife move. Instead, it was the speed and strength of the knife moving through the air, as well as the speed of the exotic beast's descent. After standing like that for a quarter of an hour, Zichen opened his eyes. During this time, Butterball had been staring at Zichen the whole time. When he saw him open his eyes, he instantly picked up the piece of meat from before with the knife. The meat flew up, and he made 3 slashes in the air. On the 4th time, he used the knife to carry the meat down and returned to the table. The efficiency was very slow. If this continued, Zichen would definitely not be able to finish his work. However, Zichen didn't care. He tried again and again until someone was about to come. He continued to scrape the bones according to the normal method. At the same time, he was thinking about the problem of making the knife move earlier. When the people who came to work saw that Zichen hadn't even finished dissecting an exotic beast, they all had strange expressions on their faces. According to his usual routine, Zichen had already dissected a few exotic beasts by now. Dai Wu appeared at the door and saw the situation in front of Zichen as well. His expression didn't change much, and he only glanced at Butterball. At this moment, Butterball was focused on his work. At noon, the others left. Butterball brought food over. He looked at Zichen, who was deep in thought, and said, "You can't do this. You won't be able to finish your work today." Zichen took the food and started eating. He was still thinking about something in his mind. "Don't tell me he's possessed," Fatty muttered. After finishing his food at his fastest speed, Zichen continued to try out the newest dissecting method. He practiced over and over again, but he didn't even finish half of his dissecting task today. According to Zichen's current speed, he would probably have to work overtime until midnight. After Butterball finished his food, he walked to Zichen silently and helped him to dissect the exotic beasts. Zichen glanced at Butterball. Butterball said, "What are you looking at? I told you, I have a lot of freedom in my work. You, on the other hand, can forget about resting if you can't finish dissecting 100 beasts today." Butterball continued, "Don't underestimate the workload for a day. If you can't finish it today, you won't be able to rest well. It'll be worse the next day. In the end, your spirit will collapse." Zichen patted Butterball's shoulder and smiled. Then, he continued to experiment with the knife. Butterball stood at the side and helped Zichen to dissect the exotic beasts. Zichen's speed of dissecting the beasts increased significantly. He also gained a new understanding of the sharpness of the knife and the toughness of the meat. It could be said that Butterball had helped him open a door. As for what was behind this door, he had to explore it himself. However, this exploration process was extremely difficult. Even with Butterball's help, Zichen's return was delayed by a lot. Zichen was already exhausted when he returned to his room. However, he didn't dare relax in the slightest as he continued to refine the Death Soul Stone. Compared to the others, Zichen, who possessed the Death Soul Stone, was much luckier. His body, which had been suppressed by his power, was constantly absorbing the energy within the Death Soul Stone. Although there weren't any visible changes, the exhaustion he had felt when he had returned was completely swept away. Zichen opened his eyes when the sky started to brighten. His mental state had already recovered to its peak. He glanced at the Death Soul Stone in his hand. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt like he had used up a lot of energy the night before. After washing up, Zichen left his room and went to work while the sky was still slightly bright. Butterball hadn't arrived yet, so Zichen was obviously the first to arrive. He continued to try out the insights he had gained the day before. Every time he tried, he would make other adjustments after dissecting the knife so that his body, which didn't have much energy, could be accurate down to the smallest detail. After about an hour, Butterball arrived late. When he saw Zichen, he was a little shocked. However, he was even more surprised. He walked over and said, "Are you really going to try it? I was just joking with you yesterday." Zichen ignored him. He had been around for too long, so his control over his power was far beyond Butterball's imagination. He knew what he was doing. However, everything was difficult at the beginning. Once he mastered the technique, everything that followed would be twice the result with half the effort. After practicing for 2 hours, Zichen started to break it down. Butterball had an endless amount of work to do every day, so Zichen didn't want to take up his time. Chapter 3968. Di Wu was the manager of this place. He was also Zi Chen's current boss. He was in charge of over 100 people. He had been the manager for many years and saw many human spirit realm experts advancing and joining the battlefield. Some died in battle, some advanced. But for some reason, Di Wu himself didn't break through. And he didn't seem to be in a hurry. He was very relaxed every day and almost didn't cultivate. Di Wu, who was sitting there drinking tea, took a glance at the person who came and said, "I'm not slow, that kid is too tough. Willful. He dares to be willful in front of you?" Earth Spirit Realm said unhappily. "It's toughness." Di Wu said, "You know he came in through connections. How long has he been here? I've already arranged for him to dissect 100 a day, he's also working overtime. Back then, you could only dissect 100 until you left, right?" Earth Spirit Realm said, "That's different, I'm different from him, I didn't work overtime, my speed is much faster than his. No, you have to continue forcing him and make him break down. Either he comes to you or ask for help from Fairy Shan Ya." Di Wu took a glance at Earth Spirit Realm and said, "Shengui, you're a warrior, why do you have to do this?" Shengui said, "You'll understand when you get on the battlefield. Let me tell you the truth, Yarrow Yi is determined to get Fairy Shan Ya. You're just a small interlude. If you do it well, Yarrow Yi will naturally reward you. If you don't, you'll make Yarrow Yi unhappy. The most important thing is still Spiritual Master. I heard Spiritual Master already took the initiative to facilitate their relationship." Di Wu said, "Spiritual Master won't interfere in this matter." "Then let's wait and see." Shengui laughed, "I've already passed the message, do as you see fit." As he spoke, Shengui bowed down and said, "Di Wu, when I first came here, you were just a manager who managed over 100 of us. After so many years, how many of us have become Earth Soul Realm experts and entered the battlefield to obtain merits? What about you? Why are you still a lousy manager? Don't you have other pursuits? Or should I say, is this the extent of your talent? Think about it, the chance to change your fate is right in front of you." Shengui left. Di Wu looked at his back view and shook his head. When immortals fight, mortals suffer. The most important thing is that these little ghosts are extremely difficult to deal with. He left the room and walked towards the console room. Everyone else had left, leaving only Zi Chen and Butterball behind. Zi Chen was still trying out new decomposition methods over and over again, while Butterball was working on the other side. After watching for a while, Di Wu left. That night, Zi Chen left very late. He was the first to arrive and the last to leave. The next day, they continued. 5 days later, one soul stone was completely consumed. On this day, Shan Ya came looking for Zi Chen again. Di Wu said, "Go, remember to finish your work." He did not embarrass Zi Chen. The two of them left together and went to Zi Chen's residence again. "How is it?" Shan Ya sat on Zi Chen's bed and swung her legs. Zi Chen said, "It's all right, how about you guys?" "We're fine too, we don't feel much pressure as long as we don't give them a good look. Although the seniors in Heavenly Soul Realm wanted to matchmake us, they didn't force us and only said to leave it to fate. Little Mute and I are worried about you, after all, the others don't think so." "Don't worry, I'm fine too." "Really?" "Of course." Looking at Zi Chen's relaxed expression, Shan Ya nodded and continued, "This is a Death Soul Stone." Zi Chen interrupted her, "I still have one with me, I don't need it now, you guys can refine it yourselves." After being here for so long, Zi Chen understood the Death Soul Stone, it was an extremely precious item. "Take it. You need it more than anything else right now." Shan Ya said, "After all, the two of us still need to rely on you, if you can't handle the pressure and push us out, where can we find a backer?" Shan Ya rolled her eyes and said, "Or, do you really want us to get married?" Zi Chen thought about it and said, "If there's really someone suitable, let's take a look first. We'll talk about it when we meet one." Zi Chen only left one Death Soul Stone behind. After bidding farewell to Shan Ya, he returned to the control room. Everyone still looked at him with strange gazes. Zi Chen was expressionless as he analyzed silently. Shengui knocked on the door and walked in at Yarrow Yi's residence. Fairy Shan Ya went to look for Zi Chen again. She only stayed for an hour this time. She was quite happy when she left. I didn't see anything unusual. Shingui said. What about now? Yaroyi asked. I heard his cultivating. Shingui said. Yaroyi's eyes turned cold. Seems like he's quite capable. Go look for Di Wu now and tell him I'm very disappointed in this matter. Ask him to take care of himself. Yes. Shingui went to look for Di Wu and expressed Yaroyi's intention with a tough attitude. Di Wu said helplessly, 100 beasts is already Zichen's limit. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to complete this mission. If there's more and something happens midway, not only will I be punished, you won't be able to run away by then. This is your answer. Shingui squinted his eyes. Di Wu, remember, you're only their leader, not mine. If I want to deal with you, I just need to move my fingers, right? If Yaroyi wants to deal with you, it's even easier, he just needs to move his mouth. Shingui said firmly, I don't care what method you use, you must make Zichen beg for mercy. As long as you accomplish this, you won't be short of benefits in the future. All right, I'll try. Di Wu could only respond. Shingui left. He had to look for Zichen in the control room again. Even if it was just for show, it was fine. Zichen was still dissecting the beast meat silently. He looked calm and didn't complain. After looking at it for an hour, he turned around and left, but didn't say anything. The second day, the third day, the fourth day. Time flew by. The calmer Shan Ya was, the greater the pressure on Di Wu's side. Di Wu visited Zichen a few times. He could feel Zichen's improvement, but he didn't break through the limit. He didn't understand, why didn't anyone stop this from happening? Could there really be an enlightened master involved? On this day, Yaroyi came personally. He looked at Di Wu and said indifferently, Boss, you've disappointed me. Back when Yaroyi was still in the human soul realm, Di Wu was in charge. There's no choice, everything has to be done according to the rules. This is Zichen. If it was someone else, their soul spirit would have collapsed and they would have died. Dissecting the beast meat seemed normal, but it consumed a lot of soul spirit. Zichen was definitely the first to achieve such an achievement in less than a month. Even Yaroyi didn't have this ability in the past. Of course, it was also thanks to the Death Soul Stone given by Shan Ya. If not, Zichen wouldn't have insisted on not going. Continue to increase. I'll take responsibility if anything happens. This time, I must make him lower his head in front of me. Yaroyi said, this is an order, you must obey it. Di Wu sighed and went to the control room to look for Zichen. When he came to the door, he saw Zichen standing there. He took a deep breath, exerted strength in his wrist, and lifted the beast body with his blade. The beast body flew high up. Zichen tapped his foot and flew up. In his hand, a blade light flashed. 1 blade, 2 blades, 3 blades. Chapter 3969. Horizontal slash, downward slash, saber light flashing. Every slash landed on a different part of the body, and the strength was different. Sometimes it was weak, sometimes it was strong. There was not much waste. Butterball stood up and widened his eyes in shock. How many years had it been since he last saw such a scene? He did not expect that he would really comprehend it. How long had it been? Butterball was very shocked. This was from the bottom of his heart. After coming here, he became the most disliked existence. He had seen too many geniuses. Some had already fallen, and some had become insignificant figures. For example, Yaroyi could decompose 150 beasts a day when he was still in the human soul realm. However, the method he used was not the same as Zichen's. Moreover, it took him several years to reach this step. However, how long did Zichen take? It was less than a month. Although his speed was not as fast as Yaroyi's, his comprehension was much better than Yaroyi's. In Butterball's opinion, even the caretaker might not have Zichen's comprehension. Zichen's body landed on the ground, and the beast's body followed suit. About 1/5 of it had been decomposed. His breathing gradually quickened. He had used a total of 38 slashes and had consumed a lot of energy. Out of the 38 slashes, only 1 slash had a good grasp of the strength. The other 37 slashes were either too light or too heavy. Zichen was reflecting. Zichen, you're good. Butterball came to Zi-Chen's side and exclaimed excitedly, "Can I?" Zi-Chen's forehead was already sweating. Although it was only 38 slashes, the energy consumed was completely beyond imagination. "Of course," Butterball said excitedly, "just this move alone is enough to suppress all the heroes." Zi-Chen laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "Out of 38 slashes, only one passed. Do you think it's great?" Butterball nodded again, very sure. Zi-Chen was a little speechless, but he did not argue anymore. He continued to regulate his breath and prepared for the next slash. About 10 minutes later, Zi-Chen slashed for the second time. This time, he learned his lesson from before and slashed 50 times. Then the third time, the fourth time, each time better than the last. Zi-Chen spent less than a quarter of an hour to decompose one. It seemed that his speed wasn't as fast as a normal decomposition, but this was only the first day of Zi-Chen's comprehension. It would only get faster and faster in the future. Butterball turned around and realized that Di Wu, who was originally standing there, had already left. After a short break, Zi-Chen continued to attack with his saber. This time, his speed was faster and his control of strength was more precise. After dissecting 5 of them in a row, Zi-Chen clearly felt weak. He immediately took out the Death Soul Stone. He did not avoid Butterball, and just like that, he recovered. Butterball naturally noticed this. He ran over again and stared at the Death Soul Stone in Zi-Chen's hand. "Zi-Chen, where did you get this Death Soul Stone?" Butterball asked excitedly. "With your current strength, it's impossible for you to obtain such a thing." After 15 breaths, Zi-Chen opened his eyes. The energy in the Death Soul Stone kept entering his body and recovering his energy. The recovery speed was faster than elixirs in the outside world. "Is this thing very valuable?" Zi-Chen kept the Death Soul Stone. Butterball curled his lips and said, "What do you think?" "Zi-Chen, with your current situation, it's impossible for you to obtain the Death Soul Stone. Tell me, did Fairy Shan Ya give it to you? She's your relative, right?" Zi-Chen ignored him and continued to gather his energy to decompose the next mutated beast. After grasping the entry-level method, the next step was to familiarize himself with it. This was nothing to Zi-Chen. With the Death Soul Stone's recovery, Zi-Chen's decomposition speed became faster and faster. Today's mission was completed earlier than usual, and Zi-Chen was still full of energy when he returned. After returning, Zi-Chen continued to refine the Death Soul Stone to strengthen himself. The next day, Zi-Chen woke up early and went to the operation room. Butterball also came early and watched Zi-Chen perform his blade. At this moment, Zi-Chen could perform close to 100 slashes at once, which was a huge improvement compared to yesterday. "Seems like the Death Soul Stone is really extraordinary. Your improvement speed is really fast," Butterball exclaimed. By the time everyone had arrived, Zi-Chen had already dissected 30 of them, which made them extremely surprised. Di Wu walked to the door and said, "Zi-Chen, your mission today is 110 slashes." Zi-Chen didn't say anything. Those surprised people laughed again. It seemed like Di Wu was determined not to let Zi-Chen rest. However, after Zi-Chen performed his blade, everyone's smile froze. In an instant, he performed more than 100 slashes. The dazzling light dazzled everyone. Zi-Chen landed on the ground and started to rest. After recovering, he continued to perform his blade slashes. He realized that his recovery speed seemed to be speeding up. His endurance in performing his blade slashes was also getting stronger. Even the time he could stay in the air was lengthened. On this day, Zi-Chen completed his mission. Although he worked overtime, it was much easier than usual. On the next day, Di Wu didn't continue to increase the number of slashes. Zi-Chen used this day to increase his proficiency. His improvement was huge every day. Everyone saw it and was shocked. Of course, there was a price to pay for the improvement. The second Death Soul Stone's power was depleted. A few days passed in the blink of an eye. The number of slashes Zi-Chen performed was also increasing. However, as his proficiency increased, this was no longer a big deal to him. Yarrow Yi came to look for Zi-Chen for the second time to express his dissatisfaction. Di Wu looked at Yarrow Yi and replied, His workload is already 150 slashes. What do you think I should do? I remember that this should be your record, right? Also, it's a record after you came here for a few years. Yaoyi said coldly, you're not going to cooperate? Di said, Yaoyi, you've always been so domineering because you're protected by a true master. Of course, you've also displayed your abilities. But I want to tell you that this is Blood Battle City. We have our own rules. You can be willful occasionally, but you can't act recklessly. This is your answer to me. Yaoyi's gaze became even colder. This is a warning to you. Di lifted his head and looked at Yaoyi. As for an answer, you're actually not qualified for me to give you an answer. What did you say? Yaoyi's eyes were already filled with coldness. The reason why I've been cooperating with you these days is because I cherish talents. I have the intention to train Zichen. Perhaps after many years, there'll be another talented general in Death Valley, or another candidate for the 10 talent. Di waved his hand and said, leave. I have my own arrangements regarding Zichen. He already gave the order to chase him out. Di, I thought highly of you, so I came to look for you. I didn't expect you to be so unappreciative. Don't blame me for being impolite. Yaoyi left with a gloomy expression. Zichen's path back to his residence was blocked by someone. It was Wei Hua. Beside him were 4 fat and muscular men. Their gazes were extremely unfriendly. Zichen looked at the 5 of them and smiled. Kid, you're still acting dumb, right? Let me tell you, this trick is useless in front of me. Wei Hua walked forward and clenched his fists. The other 4 surrounded Zichen. Zichen said, you've misunderstood. What I meant was, thank you for coming because I've also endured for a long time. After speaking, Zichen threw out a punch without any hesitation. Martial arts. Even if he couldn't use his power, he still had his skills. Banging sounds could be heard continuously and there were even wails. 1 against 5. The 5 of them were defeated easily. Chapter 3970. He punched and pulled back his fist. Zichen did an unnecessary action like abdomen and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He looked at the 5 people who were in pain. How satisfying. He walked forward. Wei Hua was so frightened that he quickly dodged. At this moment, his eyes were filled with fear. Zichen was too strong. His punches were too fast and heavy. He could not react at all. 5 against 1, but they could not even touch the corner of his clothes. As he walked past Wei Hua, Zichen suddenly turned around and looked at them. The few of them shuddered in fear again. Thank you. There are not many good people like you in this world. Zichen said gratefully, you know I want to beat someone up, so you came to me. Zichen was in a good mood. A smile appeared on the old man's face. His moves are swift and decisive. It looks like the fighting techniques of the Sacred Mountain. This is interesting. 15 minutes later, Wei Hua's voice sounded outside Zichen's door. Zichen, get out here. Zichen put away the Death Soul Stone, opened the door, and walked out of the room. This time, there was one more person besides the 5 people. That person said, did you beat them up? Zichen shook his head and said, no. Nonsense. The injuries on our faces and bodies are all caused by you, Wei Hua said angrily. Are you talking nonsense? Zichen looked at Wei Hua. Fighting is forbidden here. Moreover, we haven't spoken more than 3 sentences since we met. Why would I beat you up? You, Wei Hua did not know how to explain. Zichen looked at the other 4. Don't tell me you're also saying that I beat you up. Don't tell me I beat up 5 strangers. After saying that, Zichen returned to his room and closed the door. Don't disturb me. I have to work early in the morning. The other party looked at Wei Hua and asked, did he really beat you up? Wei Hua nodded and said, I swear. He said he's not familiar with you. Then why did he beat you up? And he beat up the 5 of you by himself? The other party continued to ask. Wei Hua naturally couldn't give a reason, but he insisted that he was beaten. The other party nodded and said, I will report this matter to the higher-ups. The so-called higher-ups referred to Zhong Jinjing. After Zhong Jinjing learned of this matter, he waved his hand and said, I understand. How should we deal with this? The other party asked. Forget it, Zhong Jinjing said. Forget it. They broke the rules. How can we just let it go like this? The person who came was very puzzled. Not only did he fail to beat someone up, he was beaten up instead. After that, he even complained. That Wei Hu can be considered a weirdo. Zhong Jinjing smiled and said, let's leave it at that. I'll deal with it. The person had no choice but to leave. Zhong Jinjing naturally wouldn't deal with this matter. He had heard about Zi Chen's recent situation. After knowing that everything was arranged by Di Wu, he didn't do anything unnecessary. Who was Di Wu? Others didn't know, but Zhong Jinjing knew very well. When he became the steward, the elders in his family had warned him repeatedly not to suppress Di Wu just because he had a high position. When Zhong Jinjing asked for the reason, the elders didn't tell him. They only told him not to provoke Di Wu and reminded him repeatedly. He had observed Di Wu for the past few years. Although Di Wu hadn't broken through, he had nurtured many talents. For example, Guan Che, the head of the current generation's 10 heroes. It was said that Guan Che was very respectful to Di Wu. Other than Di Wu, Zhong Jinjing also knew Butterball. He was also in the control room. It was said that he wasn't well liked and was hated by everyone. However, he had also stayed there for a long time, almost comparable to Di Wu. He didn't break through either. It was unknown if he had exhausted his potential. Di Wu didn't increase the number. Zi Chen's work and rest gradually became regular, but he didn't stop cultivating. He could feel his improvement and growth. Hence, he didn't dare to slack off. Because compared to the others, it was very difficult for Zi Chen to advance to Earth Soul Realm. He was silently increasing the number of people for himself. At the same time, he was pursuing speed and precision. 10 days later, in the control room, a person broke through and advanced to Earth Soul Realm. For a moment, all sorts of congratulations were heard. At this moment, the other party left the control room and entered the inner city. He was prepared to understand the rules and participate in the battle. Every day, there would be news regarding Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya. It was said that among the 10 elites, several people had launched attacks on the two of them, but they still didn't receive any response. On this day, Zi Chen, who had returned early, saw a person standing outside his house. After seeing Zi Chen, that person said indifferently, "You are Zi Chen?" Zi Chen sized him up and asked, "Who are you?" The person said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Shen Gui. I have something to say to you today." Zi Chen glanced at him and said, "If you have something to say, ask your master to come." Shen Gui was slightly stunned and asked subconsciously, "Why do you say that?" Zi Chen looked back at Shen Gui and said in disdain, "You dare to touch Shan Ya with your looks?" Shen Gui's face turned gloomy. "Seems like you are not stupid. You know everything." A cold voice sounded. A handsome young man in white walked out from the darkness. It was Yarrow Yi. Actually, it wasn't his intention to appear here. It was just that Di Wu was too arrogant and didn't take him seriously. Wei Hua was too stupid. He didn't teach Di Wu a lesson and was beaten up instead. He originally wanted Shen Gui to come out. After all, he was an Earth Soul Realm expert. Who knew that Shen Gui would see through him at a glance? "You finally appeared. I thought you were going to be a coward. I was prepared to play with you for a few more days." Zi Chen looked at Yarrow Yi and mocked. "Do you want to die?" Yarrow Yi's eyes had a cold glint. Zi Chen pointed at his feet and said, "Do you want me to lend you some courage? Let's see if you dare to fight here." Yarrow Yi's expression changed. Zi Chen said, "Seems like you don't dare to fight. Then why are you still trying to scare me? Are you stupid?" Just as Zi Chen finished speaking, the old man guarding the gate laughed. "Tianju, what do you think of this young man?" The old man suddenly said. "He has a glib tongue like a woman. This is a negotiation, not a quarrel." This was Reverend Tianju's reply. Of course, only the two Heavenly Soul Realm experts could hear it. "You are just embarrassed. The grandson you have high hopes for is actually suppressing a human Soul Realm expert." The old man guarding the gate chuckled. "Suppressing? Are you stupid? This little girl is just trying to win with her tongue. Reverend Tianju said unhappily, "This shows that my grandson is focused on cultivation and doesn't care about anything." "Oh, then let's see what kind of result they can come up with today." The old man guarding the gate said with a smile, "Do you know who I am?" Yarrow Yi really didn't dare to fight here. Not only was Zi Chen right, but he was also ridiculed. He suppressed his anger and stared coldly at Zi Chen. This time, Zi Chen carefully sized up Yarrow Yi and said, "You're young, your brain isn't very good, and your personality is so arrogant. Since you've been able to survive until now, you obviously have some skills. I guess you should belong to the 10 heroes." Yarrow Yi's face showed some complacency. The 10 heroes, that was an amazing existence. Zi Chen continued, "There are strong and weak in the 10 heroes. Those who are ranked at the top should be very steady and cautious. For someone like you who has no brain and no shrewdness, your happiness and anger are all on your face. You can barely enter the 10 heroes. Thanks to the blessing of the ancestors, I guess your real identity should be Yarrow Yi, who has Reverend Tian Hun behind him." Chapter 3971. The old gatekeeper laughed out loud. It was the first time he heard such humorous words. The 10 heroes represented the highest honor. Even if it was the 10th place, it was still a remarkable existence. But in Zi Chen's mouth, it became sarcastic words. Yarrow Yi had some complaints about the 10th place. He was once targeted by Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng. It was as if it was not a supreme honor, but a disgrace. "This kid is really ignorant." Sage Tian Ju's angry voice sounded. It could be imagined that the other party must be fuming. "Tian Ju, why are you angry with a kid?" The gatekeeper said. "I'm not angry. I'm being reasonable. Every one of the 10 heroes has experienced on the battlefield and used countless honors to prove themselves. How can they be tarnished by a kid? Tian Ju, don't be angry. I think he's right. If you count backward, your grandson is really the first. Old thing Xiao, do you want to fight with me? Asterisk 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 asterisk. The complacency on Yarrow Yi's face disappeared. His facial features were distorted because of anger. If it were not for the rules here and him being warned countless times, he really wanted to slap the guy in front of him to death. "What, did I guess wrong?" Zi Chen smiled and said, "Then forget it. I can't guess. You better introduce yourself and tell me why you're looking for me." Shun Gui, who had appeared previously, had already left after hearing Zi Chen's sarcastic words. If he heard the latter part, he would probably be scared to death. The identity and title of the 10 heroes were not for ridicule. It represented infinite killing intent. After being scolded by Zi Chen, Yarrow Yi was so angry that he forgot the purpose of his visit. He was speechless for a moment. Zi Chen restrained his smile and said, "You're here for Shan Ya, right?" "You know?" Yarrow Yi regretted it as soon as the words left his mouth. The other party could even guess who he was. Naturally, he could guess this point. Zi Chen said, "Don't you just want me to pass on your message? Why go through so much trouble?" Yarrow Yi waved his hand, and a ray of light appeared, isolating the surroundings. He said coldly, "Since you already know, I will not beat around the bush. Help me pass on the message, and I will give you a piece of Death Soul Stone after you succeed." Zi Chen pursed his lips and said, "You're one of the 10 heroes. Not only are you brainless, but you're also so stingy. You only gave me 1 Death Soul Stone. I thought you would give me 8 or 10. Yarrow Yi gritted his teeth and said, "If this matter really succeeds, I can also give it to you." Zi Chen shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, but I can't help you pass the message to Shan Ya." Without waiting for Yarrow Yi to say more threatening words, Zi Chen changed the topic and said, "However, I can help you pass a message to Lan Jiu Meng." "Fairy Lan?" Yarrow Yi was a little surprised. Zi Chen nodded and said, "Yes, is there a problem? Or do you think that Fairy Lan is not as beautiful as Shan Ya?" Yarrow Yi shook his head, but did not immediately agree. Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng were equally beautiful, but their temperaments were different. It was reasonable to say that Yarrow Yi should be happy that Zi Chen could pass the message. A wisp of a smile appeared on the corners of Zi Chen's mouth, and he said, "If it's Fairy Lan, Then I can help you pass the message for free. She can even put in a few good words for you. For example, she can talk about how handsome you are and how kind you are. She will definitely be happy. Yarrow Yi's expression was still changing. He was not happy, but was worried. On the other side, the gatekeeper said, Tianju, how is it now? The sound insulation technique that Yarrow Yi activated with a wave of his hand was nothing to the two Heavenly Soul Realm experts. This kid has some skills. This time, Sage Tianju did not show any anger. Because Zichen's words and the change in Yarrow Yi's expression were enough to express a lot of information. Zichen said, you don't know how to choose, right? Yarrow Yi looked at Zichen. Zichen said indifferently, do you know why Shan Ya hates you? How do you know? Yarrow Yi asked, but this was equivalent to admitting it in disguise. Zichen said, because you don't like her at all. Why do you pretend to like her and pursue her? Nonsense. Yarrow Yi said angrily, I really like Fairy Shan Ya. Zichen smiled and said, of course, such a beauty, who wouldn't like her after a few more glances? But I guess, among the 10 heroes, there should be many who like Shan Ya, right? Yarrow Yi's expression began to change again, but this was equivalent to admitting it. The reason why Shan Ya is so popular, but Fairylan, who is equally beautiful, is not, I guess it's not that no one likes Fairylan, but that your elders have orders, right? Zichen said again. This time, Yarrow Yi's eyes began to flicker. Do you know why? Zichen asked. Yarrow Yi did not answer, but Zichen also got the answer. The Divine Soul Goddess was still a secret. Even her Heavenly Soul Realm family members were not told. The reason why Shan Ya had many pursuers was that those elders saw Shan Ya's extraordinary potential. In addition, Shan Ya was not as special as Lan Jiyu Meng, so they all wanted to win Shan Ya over. Of course, on the surface, it was to form a cultivation companion, but in fact, it was to strengthen their own forces. This was called killing two birds with one stone. Zichen continued, you couldn't find a way with Shan Ya, so you took a step back and decided to start with me. Think about it, if you know of my existence, how can others not know? It's just that you're too impatient, so you became a clown. Others have been watching you make a fool of yourself, and may be waiting to trick you at any time. Yarrow Yi's expression was still changing. Zichen continued, believe it or not, after you come to find me today, someone else will come to find me tomorrow or the day after. However, their attitude will be completely different from yours. When they express their goodwill to me, they might even give me 1 or 2 Death Soul Stones. And these people will all come for Shan Ya. As for those who have designs on Fairylan, they won't come to me. Those who dared to have designs on Lan Jiyu Meng naturally had great confidence in winning over a divine soul goddess, so there was no need for a mere mortal soul realm cultivator to pass the message. Now that things are clear, I'm going to rest. Zichen turned around and left, returning to his room to continue cultivating. Yarrow Yi stood there, motionless. How's this kid's mind? The gatekeeper asked. Extraordinary. This was the secret answer. Yarrow Yi took a deep look at Zichen's residence, then turned around and left. The next day, Zichen didn't go to the operations room, but cultivated in his room. Dai Wu didn't send anyone to rush him. Butterball came once, worried that something might have happened to Zichen. Zichen also asked Butterball to apply for leave. On that day, several Earth Soul Realms went to the operations room to look for Zichen, but they didn't find him. As for Zichen's residence, some people came, but Zichen didn't see anyone. He was cultivating, and he was in a hurry. Because he wanted to break through quickly. The rules here were very strict, and he dared to treat Yarrow Yi this way as a mortal soul because of the rules. But the people who set the rules were ultimately people, and where there were people, there would naturally be exceptions, so Zichen was very uneasy. Chapter 3972. A piece of Death Soul Stone contained an enormous amount of energy. Because it was condensed from an Earth Soul Realm life form. Zichen had already refined 2 pieces and was now refining the 3rd one. Judging from his body's absorption speed, he should be able to refine it in about 10 days. Yarrow Yi never came to look for Zichen again. After returning, he carefully thought about Zichen's words and chose to watch silently. Just as Zi Chen said, everyone who came to look for Zi Chen was very polite. Even if Zi Chen did not open the door, no one forced it. There were even people guarding outside every day. It seemed that in an instant, everyone showed kindness to Zi Chen. Butterball only came to deliver a meal to Zi Chen on the first day. After that, this job was taken over by others. However, Zi Chen only opened the door for Butterball. Everyone else delivered the food outside the door. 5 days later, Shan Ye came again. Zi Chen opened the door and gestured for her to come in. I just came back from the battlefield. How's the situation here? Shan Ye took the initiative to pour herself a glass of water. The situation is good. Zi Chen said, you have to be careful on the battlefield. Don't be careless. Shan Ye nodded and said, indeed, we have to be careful. In Death Canyon, there are not only the soul-devouring clan but also many powerful exotic beasts. They are very difficult to deal with. In addition, the harsh environment can sometimes kill. Shan Ye suddenly turned around and looked at Zi Chen. Did you know? Last time, there was a team that did not return in time and encountered a death storm. In the end, they were all annihilated. In the face of that storm, no one dared to rescue them. They could only resign themselves to fate. Zi Chen said, then you have to be even more careful. Try to get experienced people to join the team. He said the same. Moreover, he has a sense of propriety. With that, Shan Ye took out another 2 pieces of Death Soul Stones. Zi Chen didn't refuse this time. He didn't even hesitate and put it away. Shan Ye was a little surprised. This was not Zi Chen's style. Zi Chen explained, I feel that it's useful for me to break through to the next realm. Furthermore, my refining speed has increased a lot recently. Shan Ye smiled. That's good. You're always welcome to join our team. After Shan Ye left, Zi Chen also ended his cultivation and went to the operation room. With Zi Chen's arrival, everyone stopped what they were doing and a smile appeared on their faces. One of them stepped forward and said, Zi Chen, this is your new position. Unlike the last position, Zi Chen's position was at the very front this time. Everyone's attitude towards him had changed. No, I think that place suits me better. Zi Chen continued to walk to his original position. Under everyone's gaze, he picked up the familiar knife. He raised his eyebrows. He leaped. He brandished his knife. The saber light flashed, dazzling everyone. When it landed on the ground, one of the beast's bodies had already been decomposed. It was done in one go. Butterball was stunned. Zi Chen, who had been in seclusion for a few days, had improved even more. With such speed, how much could he decompose every day? Cheers rang out from all around. Di Wu, who was far away, revealed a smile on his face. Zi Chen was expressionless. He adjusted his breath slightly and continued to decompose. At noon, someone invited Zi Chen to eat, but he rejected. Butterball brought food over. You don't plan to go back? Butterball asked. I'll continue to cultivate. Zi Chen shook his head and said. You treat your work as cultivation? Butterball laughed. Can't I? Zi Chen asked back. Sure, I just feel that you're a little strange. Butterball shook his head. Actually, he was very happy because at least he had a companion, even if Zi Chen did not talk much most of the time. Moreover, it was obvious that Zi Chen had turned over a new leaf, but he didn't like anyone else. He was the only one who treated him differently. Butterball, why don't you change your job? Zi Chen glanced at Butterball and asked, aren't you tired? Butterball said with a smile, this is quite good. A person is free and unrestrained, and no one cares. If it were anywhere else, people would roll their eyes at me. Zi Chen had been here for a long time, so he naturally knew Butterball's popularity. Therefore, Butterball did not pretend. Zi Chen put down the food box and patted Butterball's shoulder. Then work hard and cultivate. Hurry up and break through. No. Butterball shook his head and said, breaking through means going to the battlefield. I'm afraid of death. Zi Chen was somewhat speechless. He did not even know how to comfort him. He continued to decompose with his saber. To others, this might be work, but to Zi Chen, this was cultivation. An earth soul appeared at the door of the operation room. I thought you would go back to rest and wait for you at the door. I didn't expect you to not go back. Sorry, I may not be able to do anything. Zi Chen, who did not know the other party, said, but I won't let you come here for nothing. I can help the person behind you to pass a message to Fairy Lan. As for Fairy Shan Ya, I'm sorry I can't help. Butterball was stunned again. Could it be that Zi Chen even knew Lan Xianzi? And they were also very familiar with each other? He looked up and down at Zi Chen. There was nothing special about him. In terms of appearance, he was not as handsome as him. How could he have such a good relationship with the two fairies? Butterball could not accept it. He even looked down at himself. He was indeed quite handsome. He felt that God was unfair. The person stood there. When he heard Zi Chen's words, he did not know how to say the words he had prepared. You can go. Go back and ask the person behind you. Zi Chen ordered him to leave. The other party could only leave because the person who had instructed him before he came had told him to leave a good impression. For the next few people, Zi Chen responded with the same words. Just as he had expected, the people who came were all interested in Shania, and they couldn't open up the situation at Shania. A few days passed. Zi Chen's improvement every day could be said to be rapid. However, after this rapid improvement, the consumption of the Death Soul Stone was rapid. The third stone was used up in just a few days. Zi Chen's decomposition method was extremely taxing, but his improvement was also very obvious. In fact, after Zi Chen was no longer targeted, he would even take out the Death Soul Stone and refine it in front of everyone when he was exhausted. At that time, everyone's eyes lit up. They were very envious. Zi Chen decomposed more than 200 Death Soul Stones every day. This had already surpassed the supervisor at that time. However, Zi Chen still did not break through. This puzzled many people, especially Butterball. On this day, when Zi Chen came to the operation room, he did not see Butterball. This surprised him. After all, Butterball never skipped work. Half an hour later, everyone arrived and began their busy day.